It's Bitcoin Saturday Night Live. I'm and here we go. Wow, is this exciting or is it not? And what we're going to be talking about today is Bitcoin ready for prime time? We aren't. So the question is Bitcoin ready for prime time? Now, I got that idea. Yeah, I got that idea from Tyler Jenks. He actually wrote an article, Bitcoin's not ready for prime time. Tyler, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I still think Bitcoin is going to be the single most important macroeconomic change in the history of civilization. I know that sounds like I'm overstating it, but I really believe that. Unfortunately, I don't think the time has yet come. And what I mean by that is very simple. 10 years ago, with the white paper, that was not ready for prime time. It needed a lot of development. It needed a lot of Bitcoin standard bearers. It needed a lot of what used to be called maximalists, people that understood and knew Bitcoin so they could tell the story. And over the years, it's gotten better and better and better and better. But right here, I've got a bear, if you can see that. And this is a bull. And every market has got both of these things. And they go from bull to bear and bear to bull. And Ugly knows that better than everybody else on the broadcast today. You go up for a while, you go down for a while. Well, we went up, 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 all the way until 2017 in December. And then we've gone down, down, down ever since. And now it looks like we're getting going again. I'm not ready to say we're in a bull market yet, except in short to intermediate term, but we will go into a bull market that will be long term, and it will go for the rest of our lives, and it will change the world. We just have to be patient.
Tyler, didn't Bitcoin skip the phase? One of the hyperwave phases? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there are basically 7 phases in a hyperwave, and we are right now in number 7, which is the last one, and it is not yet complete. It will complete itself if we get over 20,000 or if we drop below 1,000. And in between those two numbers, hyperwave doesn't make any statement about what is going to happen. So we have to use all kinds of other tools. One of the tools I use is called Consensio, and it is fully bullish right now. Even though we ran up to 14,000 and then we've slipped back to the low 11,000s, it's still fully bullish. And as long as
okay, I have to interrupt this program because this is Saturday Night Live, and we can't get too serious here, and we can't talk about prices going up and down. So I have a question for you, Tyler, and I'm going to ask everybody else here. There's a young man out there by the name of Roger Ver, and he considers a meeting like this a terrorist cell meeting. Are any of you guys planning on punching Roger Ver in the face? And is this some kind of a conspiracy to take down Bcash?
Yes.
Hey, Zezo, how about you?
Zezo's asleep. Hey guys, you guys gotta wake. Zezo, wake up, Zezo. Zezo, hey, he's in here, but hey, wake up, Zezo.
Zezo is using the prime.
Hey, okay, everybody's got to yell at once. He's sound asleep. They're waking up over there in Europe. Zezo,
Get up.
We invited you on this program. It's time for you to get up.
Come on.
How rude. I can't believe how rude he is. This is
Yeah.
terrible.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was
Good
the one
night
who
for
only had
us.
2 hours of sleep, but Zezo clearly had less sleep than me.
Sound money.
Money.
All right, sound money. Huddle, huddle, huddle. Save, save, save. Build a, build a, build a. Sound money.
Sound money.
Good morning for you.
Hey, are you part of some kind of conspiracy? Are you some kind of a terror? Are you a part of a terrorist cell trying to take down Bitcoin Cash?
I think Bitcoin Cash is gonna take care of itself alone.
I was going to tweet and invite Roger to appear on the show, but I was going to require that he can't use the non-existent term of Bitcoin Core. He had to. We would call it Bitcoin Cash, but he would have to call Bitcoin the longest chain with proof of work is Bitcoin, and that's the only Bitcoin there is. And until his Bitcoin Cash is the longest chain with proof of work, it ain't Bitcoin. But anybody here planning on punching him in the face? He's worried that the Bitcoin standard bearers are going to punch him in the face. Do any of you guys have any plans of punching Roger in the face?
He has.
You could invite him on your cruise, and then
Yes, please.
we'll like hang him upside down from the ship. And
He's like a
Alright.
jiu-jitsu master. He's
ask him as a speaker. Ugly. Ask him as a speaker.
at least dodge him.
No, I could, but then he'd want to hand out all this Bitcoin Cash stuff. So I couldn't.
That
I
would be
guess that
fun,
would be
you
kind
know?
of funny to invite him.
We should invite him.
Well, welcome, Daisy. I would much rather have you as a speaker, and I'm really excited to have you.
Yeah,
I
me
guess
too.
you've really done anything like that before, but this is what this is about. This is a working man's Bitcoin cruise, and you're a Bitcoin entrepreneur, and that's exactly who I want. I mean, we're all new at this. We're all starting businesses with Bitcoin, and we're here to help each other. And that's why I thought, well, you say you wanted to take pictures. Well, why don't you come and speak too and tell us how you developed your business?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. On the
Is this
first
for me?
hand,
You talking to me?
I was only going to be your first
Alright, can you hear me?
photographer. Yeah. And
Ugly, are you talking to me?
no, I was talking.
No, we're talking.
Go on,
Okay, good. Alright.
We're talking. Not yet.
You're simultaneously talking.
Alright.
And then you asked me to be a speaker about being a Bitcoin entrepreneur and all the stuff that I'm facing right now, working for big corporates and big brands here in the Netherlands as a photographer and trying to get them to accept Bitcoin and all the all the stuff that I hear back from them. It's actually really interesting to have a talk about that on the cruise and maybe have a panel about it, some interaction with the people on the cruise. Maybe some tips how to get people more into accepting Bitcoin. So I happily accept the invitation and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I think the key is it's going to be the small entrepreneurs. I think the big companies, they'll jump in all at once once a few of them jump in. But it's just, it's people that, like you and me, we're just small business people, and that's where we go. Juan Galt, welcome. You've been wanting to get in here. Let me put you on the show. There you go. This is one. Good morning. See, what time are you at? You're not on Pacific time. You're on what time? What time is it where you're at?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on there, but yeah, it's midnight right now. I'm in Guadalajara, Mexico. Yeah, it's a small town.
Guadalajara.
It's the second biggest town in Mexico, and nobody knows about it, and it's awesome. So don't tell anybody. It's great.
Oh, we know about it. My wife knows. You want to talk about what you know about Guadalajara? That's where he lives in Guadalajara right now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I know Guadalajara is a beautiful place. Beautiful places there are there too. I wish God to see Guatanejo Beach. I hope someday we can go there.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a beautiful weather too.
Yeah, it's great weather. It's great weather, and there's a lot of there's definitely community here. There's a lot of tech and a lot of meetups happening. There's a little bit too much blockchain, not enough Bitcoin. But I've met with some of the like Bitcoin the people that put out the meetups and have the exchanges and stuff, and a lot of them are Bitcoiners. Like their Bitcoiners are hard to know. So we need a little bit more Bitcoin down here, but it's great.
Well, Juan is going to try and help us all keep our Bitcoin safe and teach us, hopefully, how to pass it on to the next generation. Because if you think about it, it's kind of hard to do. You know, I've got some young sons and some grown sons, and I love them all, but I don't know that I want to hand over the keys to my Bitcoin. I don't know if I love them, but do I trust them?
Yeah, ugly. There's a lot of dilemmas with it. It's a really big problem. It's a problem that's in its infancy, and there's some solutions coming out. But it's a real question. Like, how do you do it, right? Because you can create a path for your loved ones to get the money, but then there's a path to get your money beyond what you would do to get your money, right? And that takes down your security a notch, right? And that's a real problem. And then a lot of times our loved ones don't really understand Bitcoin very well or crypto, and this is a very complex system. So like it's one thing if you only have Bitcoin, but most people have like at least 10 other shitcoins, right? And then Bitcoin, and then where are they? And then there's 5 different wallets and 3 exchanges, right? And it's a nightmare. And so what we try to do is like we're teaching people how to organize their digital life, and there's some first steps you can take to make that a lot easier and make emergency situations a lot easier. But then there's also a bunch of legal elements to it that need to be kind of added to it, right? You can't simply just
one
pass your
simple
crypto
way
to somebody. Mm-hmm.
One way to make it a lot easier is just make it Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone.
Yeah,
I
certainly
think it's a
is,
lot
yeah.
safer and a better investment in the long run.
Yeah.
Daisy,
and-
what time is it? Good morning, Daisy. What time is it
Yeah,
there?
I'm still waking up here. Didn't have too much sleep last night. It's 7:30 a.m.
All right. Well, that's why we want to do this. It's really hard to get people in Europe, on the same schedule as us in the United States. And so this is just what I came up with. Still hoping that Max Hillebrand and Mad Bitcoins, they might still be asleep. I don't know. But I sent them the links. And so hopefully they'll pop in, but they're both in Europe. And so they're just waking up. So hopefully they'll
I
pop
think
in
we're in the
soon.
same time zone. Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
It's 1:30
So it's
a.m.
morning there.
It's 1:30 a.m. here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
hey Tyler, I totally missed you coming to Amsterdam with your wife. So we
I'm
have to
so
put up
sorry I
next
missed you and Zezo. I was in
Yeah.
Amsterdam just about a week ago,
I know, yeah. I was
but
actually
only for a couple of days, and then I was teaching courses in hyperwave down in Antwerp, Belgium.
That's so funny because so you told me in Malta that you were gonna come to Amsterdam, and then I actually had a last-minute job to go to France, so I wasn't in the Netherlands when you were in Amsterdam. I actually drove by Antwerp to go to France, so we should hook up next time you're coming to Amsterdam.
Well, we're going to see you on the cruise because that cruise is going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's
I
gonna
can't
be
wait to meet everybody, and it'll be just day after day of good times.
Oh, let me say something too to you guys. I got it. Let me put this so I'm speaking. Let's see. Okay, let me say a word. I think we put your links. Every one of you have a link for the cruise. So we put your links on there. Your followers can press your link, and then your followers can get 15% off the cruise ticket. And you'll also get a little small bonus from us, 10% for bringing us some of your followers. And it's our affiliate program, and it seems to be working quite well. Something that I wanted to do because I know people need to get a revenue stream in Bitcoin. And so our members also, they have affiliate codes. And so if you sign up to become a subscriber, it's a lifetime membership. It's my life, not your life. And I'm 70 years old. So, if I live another 10 years, it's a good deal. But if I drop over tomorrow, it wasn't too good a deal, I guess. So, but but I'm pretty spry for my 70 years old here, and I just wanted to let people know, if you want to go on this cruise, or if you sign up and want to become a lifetime member of the uglyoldgoat.com, you can use your favorite person there, and they will get, you'll get a 15% discount, and they'll get a small referral fee. Now, the conference, I think I have we're only taking 60 people. We've sold about 10. I'm just going to buy all of the tickets because I have to purchase 60 of them. So I'm going to lock in the price, so the cruise price won't change. But you'll have to buy the conference ticket and then buy the cruise. We're hoping people will sign up before July 22nd. If not, then I'll just buy all the tickets, and I'm sure I'll get them all sold out before the conference. Okay, I think you had something to say, Kestutis?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Zezo, I like your pajamas, man.
I know. My son has.
Yeah, you definitely win the pajama contest. I have these here. So,
That's pretty good
I got
too.
this on the back. Got an ugly old goat on the back.
And these pajamas are super nice too.
Yeah. Oh, remember that we want to talk with the
office, like,
customer about the
this is like
conference at the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Like satin wear.
Okay, let me put. I think Andy should go ahead. You can talk, and then I'm going to take off the mask. Everybody
Okay,
knows
take
who I
off
am
the
now.
mask.
I'm wearing
It's hot.
Zen.
It's
I call
hot
this
here.
You really looking nice.
Okay.
Looks good.
You know what?
Zen sleep.
Look what we have, a little Don Julio.
Oh, we have
some
Don Julio.
Don Julio tonight.
Yeah.
It's 10:30 tonight, so you may as well have a little. I hope that doesn't get in trouble with YouTube. Just
Okay, I'm gonna make a call.
We're not getting paid for that or anything.
For
yeah.
followers, we're not condoning drinking alcoholic beverages.
Well, I don't have any problem. Okay, here we go. Oh, that one. Give me that one. There we go.
Okay, I can have a little bit.
Okay. A little bit.
Oh, remember that we want to talk with the people about the conference Thursday night.
Go ahead.
We want to have a dinner and meet all persons there and have nice dinner there on Thursday night, and we can share and we can know the people around. It's not just people. I know you and you know me, but we want to make everything more personal, right?
Yeah, and this will be a really close one-on-one conference. Nothing can be sold. We have no sponsorship. I'm the sponsor. Okay, I'm financing this. I might lose my shirt on it, but I can afford the loss. And this is what I want to put back in for. And I am looking at this as a business venture, so I'm taking a businessman's risk. What we are planning on doing, we were talking about.
Friday is the conference.
Friday all day. Thursday night we come in. We'll have some kind of a dinner and a special probably comedy skit, and then Friday all day will be the conference, and then that night we'll have something, and then Saturday is when the Baja 400 is, and we think we'll be able to get the logistics. So we get off the boat early in the morning, like 7.
I think we arrive 7 a.m.
We'll go to the race, and we'll get to see some of the cars take off, and then that'll probably end about 10 or 11 o'clock.
By 10:30 is the last car,
and then we'll go out for a lunch.
We can go to lunch, breakfast, lunch there at the Zezo Beach Hotel. It's just there. We are in the same area.
And then we
can be there like 11 to 1.
Right.
We can stay 2 hours. We can meet up. Everybody can come and ask anything to U.O.G. And when we are at the dinner, we can make a big table for share with everybody.
Yeah.
And after that, we can finish 1 o'clock, and
come to the Bitcoin house then.
And we can come to the Bitcoin house.
And maybe we'll have Saturday Night Live here or something.
Here, the 2 to 4, because I think we had to stay before 5 at the cruise ship.
Yeah, we have to be about 5 o'clock.
We had to go back by 5 o'clock to the.
And then Saturday night we'll have some kind of a party on the.
We can have party on Saturday night
on the cruise ship, and then you get back on Sunday morning.
and we left on Sunday morning. But
And-
we wanted everything so closer. We wanted to see the
Right.
people closer and say hello, how are you? And you can ask whatever you want.
And if you really want to support what we're doing, there is a VIP. I think we're doing 10 out of the 60 are VIP
10.
tickets.
Yep.
We had a special, we sold quite a few VIPs already, but if you're doing a VIP, we'll have some special things for you. Like, I'm kind of thinking you guys, the speakers here, I might just set you up in a cabin with one of the VIPs so they can have one-on-one with one of our speakers. But if you're not bringing your wife and you're just coming by yourself. And so that was one thing I had in mind. And the goat lady wants a razor. And I don't know if you know what that is, but that's one of those big 4-wheel drive things that seats 4 people. So she'll probably want to drive that out to the race, and she'll probably want to take 4 VIPs with her too. So
yeah, we can have, when we are here at the Beacon House, and we can have a Saturday Beacon Saturday Night Live. If you don't want to stay here or you want to do something else, I can have some people at the ATVs and be around. We are 3 blocks away.
yeah, you can rent ATVs.
And we can go
We've got
for 2 hours or 1 hour, or we want to stay here a little bit and we can walk to the beach or the ATVs. We are planning to do different things to the person who want to do something else. It's not used that schedule. We can modify a little bit. Everything with careful and with orderlies, because we have to go back. We had to stay before 5 o'clock to the cruise ship. If not, we had to drive there. We had to cross them to the border,
All right.
in the car. We had to cross the border in the car. But I hope everybody have fun. And we have a lot of adventure here. But the principal is the Baja 400, first edition.
Yep, it's an inaugural race. I never had this one before, and they're lots of fun. I mean, even if you're not into the racing at all, just to see those big machines and hear them, it kind of blows you away. It's definitely a spectacle.
Yeah,
So.
I want to say something about Bitcoin. Tyler mentioned the scale of change that we haven't seen before. And I want to just expand a little on that because, yes, I think people indeed don't understand the scale and the change that the Bitcoin is bringing about. The best way I can explain is that this idea of money supply, and creation was meant to be a sound idea, and it relied on honesty, right? And the more centralized it gets, the more corrupted, more likely to be corrupted. Okay, and then we tried this many, thousands of years, and we never got it right, because the problem was the humans, and humans are corruptible, and eventually it gets corrupted, and people start abusing that system. So now we have something, which means it had to be something besides human, right? That sounds a little crazy, but that's exactly what it is. Something besides human to keep humans accountable for honesty. And everyone's talking about, what if AI controls us, and that would be scary and all that. The basic intelligent protocol is already controlling us. It's already incentivizing Chinese to be honest in money supply. If that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. So people can help but be incentivized to be honest. And we have an intelligent protocol that is adjusting human behavior to the point that we've never seen. Now we have an intelligent protocol making sure that humans are honest, and which means that we are already being controlled by this intelligent entity because
Let me
it's
get a
not
picture of
human.
that.
It's intelligent protocol. It already has a control of us. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that. That's how big it is. It's much bigger than just the as much as revolutionary and the genius behind it is so great that
All right.
It's
'Cause
bigger
this-
than us.
yeah,
bigger
yeah,
than-
exactly.
and
This is
that's what
I'm trying
I
to
want to
say
go
is
into that a little
it's
bit
a new
because
entity being born.
look,
Yeah.
Bitcoin is gonna create a whole new culture and a whole new world, and it's very important that we are on the foundation of this thing. We'll have a lot of say about where it goes, but I see it as it's going to transcend the nations. It's going to transcend all the governments, and it's going to be an entire new culture that's going to develop, and it will be sound money develops an honest culture. So you had something to
Oh, lost him. Wow. Radio silence.
Is on us.
So,
We're still here.
Kuan, what are you?
We're still here.
Kuan, what are you
Yeah.
developing?
It's our show now, guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something completely different.
We
Oh.
take over.
Space travel.
Oh, interesting. Don't know anything about that.
Dogecoin. Me-
Dogecoin. Being listed now.
Tyler, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Zezo.
No.
Yeah,
Are
cool.
you? I'm curious about. Are you still writing the 5 solution for the crisis, the economic crisis?
Yes, but I've changed the order. Originally, I started with Bitcoin, then I was going to do gold, then I was going to do default on the debt, and then I was going to do growing out of it. And but I've changed my mind, and I'm going to do Bitcoin and gold together. I believe that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Gold is beginning to break out and move right now for the first
Okay.
time in 7
Are you
years.
back?
There we go.
All right, we made
All
it.
right, Ugly left his own party.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, you and I are about the same wavelength on this technology. So,
This live stream
Yeah.
is decentralized, guys. Sorry. Go on.
I'm sure you're far ahead of me, Ugly.
okay, Juan, I know you wanted to get your 2 cents in on what we were discussing. You got the floor. Oh, you hear me? Whoop.
I don't think he does.
There we go. We go.
Okay. Well, I guess it gets us back on us. I tried to get Juan on there. All right. Everybody hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So who wants the floor? I tried to give Juan the floor because I know he wanted it.
Oh,
He went out. He'll probably log back in. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, I was hoping Garbriel D Vine. Okay, you want to talk? Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I can talk for hours, especially about Bitcoin.
Okay, I'm back.
What would you like me to talk about?
Oh, well, I don't have a problem talking about anything. So, we did
I had
a
thought about
poll
this,
on. Oh, there he's back.
Yeah,
One, he was the one I wanted to give the floor to. There you go. All right, we're lost for words, so you're on, buddy.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I had some thoughts about what our friend here was talking about. Sorry, what's your name? He doesn't have an account, so I don't know what his name is. But yeah, this idea of
My name's Kez.
okay, great. So this idea of Bitcoin being something bigger than us. I mean, definitely. One of the things that something I heard a long time ago from Charles Hoskinson, which I know everybody hates because he's a shitcoiner, but he said something really interesting. He said that Bitcoin is kind of like an Old Testament God, in a sense that Bitcoin is kind of unforgiving, right? Bitcoin has very simple rules. It's like you either have the keys or you don't. That's it, and that's the game. And there's scarce supply, and that's it. And the rules are set, and we all know what the rules are. And yeah, so that was the thought that I had. But Yeah.
Now,
Very
that Old Testament God also happened to be very forgiving, so I'll take issue with that one.
That's right. Interesting. Go on.
Yeah, so obviously Bitcoin is for a more responsible human being. And I mean, I see that young people, obviously, because of the technical savvy and things like that, are becoming more responsible. Instead of relying on a third party to take care of their wealth, which they take care, in quotes, take some of it or most of it. Now we have something that you can totally rely on yourself, on your own, technical acumen and approach. But there's a problem with that, is because that's exactly double-edged sword. Because some people, when they face that responsibility, they don't want to take it. Most of the time, because they're not technically savvy enough to, for example, secure Bitcoin in a private and secure way, not in a sort of generic way that completely traceable right now, right? To secure Bitcoin in the correct way, what I envision is that it cannot be stored on the software or the hardware. If you store on the software and the hardware, if somebody can take. That's why I think Bitcoin is supposed to be stored on your body, and you use the terminal to interact with the Bitcoin network. However, terminal does not store or keep anything. So as long as you have your body, as long as you have the basic memory of having a basic combination of, let's say, your retina scan, your pinky finger, and then your thumb, right? So there's a little bit of memory involved, which is super basic, in your body. It's just for the increased security.
Well, I'm just thinking, if what you're saying takes off, you know what business you want to get into? What's that business where they freeze the bodies?
Cryogenics.
Cryogenics, yeah, cryogenics will be a big thing, because to keep Grandpa to get a hold of the Bitcoin, we got to keep Grandpa, body in a good state.
There you go.
Well, I have a question for Kestutis regarding this. Yeah. So, if you want to give your Bitcoin to your children, you're in the plane crashes, body is never found. How are you going to transfer the Bitcoin?
You can always have, right now with the multi-signatures and all these things, that you can set, for example, that if I don't access my wallet within 5 years, all the funds are being moved to this specific account. So that's just one way to deal with it, right? It's just simply assume that if I don't access within 5 years, assume that I'm gone, and that money automatically, sent on that timestamp based on what you chose, right? So that's basic heritability, which you can be done already.
But who's got the keys for that? Like I could kidnap you for 5 years, and if I get the keys, I get your Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm actually considering it and trying it out just as a test to see.
I'm just throwing stuff back at you, because I love the idea, but I'm just thinking as a villain now, like how am I going to steal your Bitcoin?
No, it's okay. It's a devil's advocate,
Yeah.
That's the way to say it.
Yeah, I actually find it pretty dystopian, the idea of doing biometric key management like that, because then all you need is somebody to pull a hair of you if it's DNA based, or if it's memory based. Like memory gets, people lose their some illnesses mess with your memory, and in other cases, if we're talking about centralizing all that wealth on just you, I think that can become too much responsibility. That's kind of one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned with, is it's too much responsibility. We don't want to end up in a world where Backed controls 80% of American Bitcoin wealth. We don't want to end up in a situation where centralized exchanges dominate. But I think some kind of distribution of control, distribution of immediate power is good. Even in the private individual ownership of keys, right? Like we can decentralize our own ownership of Bitcoin. And I think that's going to come with things like multi-sig and things like what's called the Shamir secret sharing. This very technical term, but basically you can decentralize your backups as well, right? And so that at any given moment you don't have 100% control over your money. You only have 100% control over a portion of your money, which is what you would most of the time need, and then the rest would be more difficult to reach, right? And that protects you from kidnapping, and that protects you from sort of the edge case scenario if you die on a plane crash and there's no way to get to your money. There's more barriers to get to it. I think that's more likely because biometric. There's just a lot of problems with biometric-ish sort of authentication. I mean, if you talk about memory alone, that's like a brain wallet. That's different, but yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you think of all this crazy stuff? These guys are talking about stuff that's way beyond what I know about. I mean, these guys are on a different wavelength. What about?
That's what was so good about the Malta conference, because the Malta conference on understanding Bitcoin were a lot of brainiacs, geniuses in all aspects of Bitcoin, explaining to people like me in simple terms what all this stuff means, lightning and Schnorr and Tor and all of that sort of stuff, and then actually demonstrating it. But I came away with the same conclusion I started this show with, saying it is going to happen. It is going to solve the problems that Daisy's talking about and that Juan is talking about, but we are not yet there. We have to be patient. I came up with a list of 10 qualities that Bitcoin has that no other altcoin, gold does not have, fiat dollars do not have. And I've only listed 5 of those in that one Medium article, but I just thought I'd go very quickly through these. This is
No, Tyler. You're going to present that at the Bitcoin cruise.
I am.
And I don't. You know what? And we're not going to give that. I appreciate your research. You're the one that taught me about the 5 pillars of Bitcoin, and that's what I asked you to speak about. But now I want you to speak about the 10 pillars of Bitcoin,
right.
And don't let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to know?
I'm sure. I want to know. But we want people to come to the conference too to find out. I mean, because I know, and you need to do a super article on it.
What we're going to do on the conference, I'm not going to write an article. I will present it for the first time at the conference, and we will do each one of the 10 in great detail. But I could list the 10 just so people know what I'm thinking in terms of what this Bitcoin is really all about, because it's different. And if you think it's the same as Litecoin or Monero or Cardano or Ethereum or any of the other ones, you're mistaken. You must be able to understand what is absolutely unique about Bitcoin. And there are these 10 qualities that nothing else can reproduce. We talked about.
All right. You know what? We can't stop you now. So I'll give you, you got 2 minutes. Just list them off, but you can't go. How long is it going to take?
I won't explain them. I'll just list them. Number 1 is singularity. Number 2 is transferability. Number 3 is unconfiscatability. Number 4 is privacy. Number 5 is invisibility. Number 6 is divisibility. Number 7 is fungibility. Number 8 is anonymity. Number 9 is universality. And number 10 is eternality. Each one of those has been created in this little paper called the white paper without naming any of them. But the essence of what we all know about Bitcoin can be summarized in those 10 things. And when people understand that, then we will be ready for Bitcoin to go to 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, $1 million, 5 million, and $10 million. And it will do it, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, you just gave me a lot of ammunition for some Medium articles, so I appreciate that. And a lot of ammunition. Now you guys know what this conference is going to be about. So that's, I mean, he's the one that came up with Bitcoin's not ready for prime time, and he's the one that came up with the 5 pillars of Bitcoin. And he's also the one that came up with Hyperwave. And I know you have a lot of detractors right now, Tyler, but I understand your Hyperwave. I know where it came from, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. And because I know that you were an old-time student of Ted Warren, and he was just a simple man with a 6th grade education. But you know, and that's all I am. I'm not. I don't have near the brains of most of these people in Bitcoin, but I can trade the hell out of it. And you guys all know that and can see that. And so that's why I'm here, is to teach you those principles, because that's what's going to make you successful. And that's why, you know, I make it a fun and silly dance. I call it HODL, save, and build. Everybody knows what HODL is. You know, it's hard to do. We have the HODL is you hold Bitcoin, and how many people had Bitcoin? You know, it was $1,000 or $500. They sold it at $1,000 or $1,500 or $3,000. They didn't keep a HODL all the way through. And then you had the opposite, people that held all the way through, and they never took a profit anywhere. I know a lot of people, oh yeah, I held it, I didn't sell any of it. And then something came up, an emergency, and they were forced to sell at 4,000. And, you know, instead of taking, selling part of their HODL when it was way overpriced. It was over 10,000, over 15,000 back in November, December 2017. Then there's what I call save. Now it's called SAVYY. It's actually I derived that from savvy, because if you HODL, you're also savvy, and if you're savvy, you're going to take profits from now and again, and you're going to spend that to provide for your family, to give them luxuries that you wouldn't otherwise have. G.Lady, what is it? I just told you that your account I'm sending 6 Bitcoin back tonight, and now we put part of that Bitcoin, we HODL, part of that we savvy. Savvy is what you spend for your own personal life and enjoyment. You 2 things that you've been wanting to get, I'm sure you'll probably get them very soon. What is it? Trailer and a razor.
What do you want to do with these 6 Bitcoin?
No, yeah, well, you're not going to get it all, but what do you want? You tell them how. We're talking about savvy now. This is how we be savvy. She wants things to have a quality of life. We are living people, you know. We're not computer programs, and we're not a protocol. So
yeah, we have some HODL. We want to save, and we build already. And now we want to live the life, a good life, you know.
So what is this? What is this raise? I was going to get a new motorcycle, and he said, "No, I can't get a new motorcycle. We need to get the razor." Tell them about the razor.
Oh, it's a nice. I wanna go with everybody to 6 people. The razor is for 6 people.
No, 4. You want one for 6?
Yeah, one for 6 people.
No, 4 people. No. Okay.
Look, it's 3 childs, and you and me and Cass. If Cass wanna come with us, what we gonna do?
I don't know if they have one for
6.
They have one for 6. I've seen for 4. There's some for 6.
6 people.
Really?
Yeah. But you know, the next trip that we have, next vacations, and now everybody know that we buy a nice truck F-250 in May, and we want to buy a trailer, a 5-wheel trailer for have adventure. We want to go 2 weeks on vacations, and we want, I don't know, and United States, I don't know much places, but we want to enjoy with the children. We have 3 children that we want to go different places. We don't want to be in nice places, nice area, but we want to be at the different parks,
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of thinking maybe we'll go through California, Oregon. I'd like to maybe touch Canada a little bit.
And that is so safe.
Yeah,
Enjoy with the
yeah.
family, because all the time be trading 24 hours, 365. That is no fun. We need some time for the family. And I'm here. I want to teach some people, and I'm learning more and more all the time. But I want to push the wives. We want to push the wife for as the husband, the making trading, they make a little bit time for the family. We can do that. The wife, we can do that. We need our time for the family, for the children. Not use for the trading. Not use, because the trading never ends. The trading. Wives, women, we had to learn how, okay? And I'm here, I'm helping, I'm supporting, I'm learning more. My English can be much and much better. And I wanted to help the wives, because I know some wives, they complain about the same complaints I have, they have to. But the men, we had to teach the men how handle and how make the money management, but how make family management.
That's what you need to do. You need to start. That's a good one. You know what? I need to add that in there. But I can't write it. I'm terrible at it. So you need to write about it. You need to teach me about that, because I don't get it by myself. I'm terrible at it. And you know I am.
I know that you make money for support the family, but when you're tired, when the men can be tired, they be in trading, manage the money. I look at the Bitcoin. I get all excited about Bitcoin, but then Yeah, but you know what? We have 5 years old girl, the little one. But later on, he's so busy. He can take her to the bike, go to the bike, or go to the gym, or go to the park. When he's so tired, they be trading.
Go to the gym. I never go to the gym. Can't you?
For Esther.
Oh,
for
she's.
Oh,
for her gym. Yeah, she's in gymnastics. Yeah.
But when the men are in trading, will be tired to trade. When the children are adults, when the trading say, I'm going to park with my little boy, but the little boy won't be anymore a little boy. He will be a big man. And you will lost all that.
Who's the guy that did Cats in a Cradle? He did a song about that.
I think Scarface said it best. He said, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the woman.
Then you get the woman.
Yeah, no money, no honey. It's real simple.
To make money, it doesn't work that way.
But okay.
No, but you know what? It's a lot of things you can do without money. I told you. Think what we cannot do with all family, and don't expend more than $50 in one day.
You're right.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah, when we didn't have any money, we would have fun on nothing.
Okay.
So you don't need money to have fun. In fact, money just kind of complicates things.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, but I'm trying to explain the money management, but you need to start writing about family management, and you need to teach me, because I'm real. Okay, yeah, let's be good, and it can be okay.
I can teach all men.
All men, teach us about. Okay. So now we're gonna go in. That's save. That's savvy. Okay. Then the last thing is with the 6 Bitcoin we take out, we're gonna hold some, we're gonna spend some, and the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna invest some. I think we already did that. How much equipment have I bought recently? What did you just buy? Hey, we have a factory here. We'll take you for a tour, but right back of us is a great big factory. But so anyway, that's the other thing you do. That's builder. And so you want to. In my build, her builder is a factory. She understands that. I don't want to manage 100 people. I just My builder is uglyoldgoat.com. That's my builder. That's what I'm building. I'm building something on the Bitcoin standard. So this is what I'm trying to teach is the complete package. It's not, trading may or may not be for you. That's part of it. But the general principles are the same, whether it's on a trading basis or on a large scale basis, which is you hodl and you save. As you hodl, you cash some in, you take some profits, and then you build we have assets now that we simply didn't have, before 2013 when I got into Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I hope when Bitcoin come up in 20 or 25,000, we can have a great big house. The top, the mountain, the beautiful, in downtown here in Ensenada.
And she's already got, she's built, anyway, she's got another house plan, so hopefully that will come into play too. Well, I'm done. Anybody, I just wanted to teach the people that are listening that this whole thing it's a complete package. That's why I do that silly dance where we hodl and save and we build it's silly, but it's a way to reinforce what we're doing here. Okay, Zezo.
Okay, I have a question for you and Tyler. You guys like for 34 years trading. How much Bitcoin you think a person, and like my son, when my son become 18 in 10 years from now, how much Bitcoin would be enough for him to have a good life? 1 Bitcoin, half Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin?
Well,
No
I think
Bitcoin.
anybody that has 1 Bitcoin,
No Bitcoin.
one Bitcoin, just a single Bitcoin, will be able to live as well as anyone else in the world. It doesn't, once you get up to $1 million or $5 million or $10 million, because somebody has $1 billion or 20 billion or 50 billion, and a couple of people have just gone over $100 billion, they can't buy anything that you can't buy eventually with 1 Bitcoin. That's my estimation. Now, I don't think it's going to happen next week or next month or next year, but it's something that everybody needs to have to plan for the future, because there will be no more cash. There will be no more fiat dollars.
Zezo, I want to answer that. I'm going to answer it differently. I don't think you may not be doing your children any favor at all by giving them Bitcoin, particularly if they haven't, if they're not responsible and they haven't earned it. It's your job to raise your children. It's your job to teach your children, but it's not your job to provide for them.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. Zezo, I think that, in my point of view, no Bitcoin is the right answer. We have we had 4 children, but we had 1 child, 13 years
And
old.
I have 3 more.
And we had 3 more that you already shared to them, and nobody followed.
Right.
They don't follow anything about the what you are doing in Bitcoin, right?
That's fine, but they're all very successful in their own right.
Yeah, and they say, but they don't continue what you are doing. But we have here, David, can you come?
David.
Here is the David Goat.
Yeah.
The next child. David
I was
Goat.
asking around because we need to do we want to do a live stream.
Okay.
We want to do a live stream of the conference. So I was looking for somebody to hire, and this is the guy that I'm going to hire.
Okay, he's are asking per 2 years.
He wants to learn Bitcoin.
He's want to learn about Bitcoin. He's want to learn, and Ugly said, you know what? I will give a little piece of Bitcoin, and you can learn to manage that. If you lose, you lose. But if you lose, you will learn. And if he's learned, I'm sure that he will save money, the money that we gave to him all the time, and he will invest. That's the best thing that we can give to them. We can teach them how make the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Just give Bitcoin away and say some Bitcoin for the child. I don't think is the right thing.
No, it's not. And if you just, the last newsletter that I just sent out, I made that example that if you just started, you could have started out with $75 February 4th and traded and I didn't do that great a job, but I know what I'm doing, but $75 would have been turned into over $4,000. 2 Bitcoin was turned into 34.5 Bitcoin, or essentially at the time, $7,000 was turned into $400,000. People think that's fantastic. I don't think it's that unusual, but you do it with a little bit, and you make. I don't want to be the biggest. I don't want to trade for other people. I'm trading for myself, and I don't want to be the biggest. You don't want to, have the biggest lot in the cemetery. That's what I'm not. I'm not doing it for that. And if you're doing it for that, then you've got the wrong motive. And we don't know what children.
That's the reason that in church and spend the money.
Yeah.
No wonder you are the man more rich in the cemetery.
There you go. She doesn't want me to be the richest man in the cemetery, so she just spends it. Good thinking,
It's much better than we.
All right.
Our side is enjoy our life. Enjoy what you're doing. We have our safe. Okay, we have our safe. We have our HODL. We have our builder.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to enjoy the life.
Sound money. It's all based on sound money.
But you know what? It's a lot of things that we don't need one Bitcoin completed to go to vacations. Do you remember when it's the race in Uruapan?
Yeah.
We just got the things in the truck, and we have the cooler with sodas, and we stay all day long there with all family, enjoy meeting more people, and we don't expend money. Use the gas that we expend the house to go over there, and we enjoy all day. We are so happy with all family. We don't need a bunch of money for enjoy the family.
Okay, Zezo, what's up?
Okay, I have a question for Kestutis then, because we are a generation that grew up with one kind of money. So my family have to teach me how managing and how to take care of money. But I got in a crossfire now that I have an old system and now we have a Bitcoin. So now to teach my son about money, I want to know from Kestutis, how we see how going to be this difference, how going to be developed this new way to teach about economic for the kids. What is the difference that he sees on that now? How we can make sure that we can make our kids understand and step from one old system to a new system in the most safe way?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we lived in a dead system for quite a while now, and things kind of got worse in the 1970s when they unlocked the dollar from the gold standard. And there were 2 occasions where sound money was gone. The Woodrow Wilson, he signed to create the Federal Reserve. He took away the power from the government and gave it to the bankers. And the 1970s Nixon unlinked gold from dollar as a standard. Now, before that, because it was linked to gold, the advice was just save your money. Okay, like you can stuff the money in the mattress is quote unquote as good as gold. We still had some inflation, but saving back then was okay. Now, 1970s, the moment they did that, what happened that the advice then was do not save the money, invest in the assets like real estate. The advice back then,
gold, silver.
Right. So invest in the assets. Do not keep the money in the bank because it's going to be devalued as the time goes on. And the people who started living life that way did very well. Not only they maintained their standard of living, they became wealthy. And obviously people who didn't live the life that way became much more poor as the years went by. So now we have a new system being born. We are merging going from that system into the saving system again. And I think that's a very lucrative time where we can have both the debt system and the saving system. I have done that. I have took out the mortgage and put it in Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was 2000, right? And as soon as I put in, the price went down. But I didn't care about that. I was putting in the long term. So I use the debt system to get into the savings system. I borrowed something that absolutely has no value, and I put it in something that is backed by the physics and the mother nature and time, right? And we still have this scenario right now. I mean, you need to be responsible with your money, but the advice now to your children is that now we need to become frugal again. Now we need to earn first and then get the reward later, because the credit system ruined people like this, because we are not wired like that. We need to work and then get a reward. If we get a reward, we don't even like to do the job that we used to like, because we already have the reward, right? So, and we're breeding the people that are sort of like a lazy society. So the new generation are going to have to be different, right? The new generation is going to have to earn first and then get a reward, and forget about the credit system, because credit system is great for the business, but it's absolutely horrible for the people.
Well, I like the credit system. They gave me credit when I didn't deserve it. But I knew, if you know how to use credit, credit's fine. But I wanted to interrupt you for a little bit, Kestutis, because we're getting a lot of questions. And I want to tell everyone that's asking questions, we're not going to take any questions tonight. Kestutis is here. He's spending the night with us here in Ensenada. He came down from San Diego. We will do a special program tomorrow of Ask Ugly Anything, and that is a member-only thing. So if you like what's going on here, if you want to see more, go to uglyoldgoat.com. Go through it. If you're following if you're following Daisy or Juan or Tyler or Zezo, there's a link in our down on the YouTube. There's supposed to be a link down there. You can actually sign up through them, and they'll get a small credit. You'll get a 15% discount. You can sign up for the cruise or the newsletter. If you want to be on the Ask Me Anything, which I'll be glad to answer all your questions then, but we don't do this because this has been broadcast out on everybody's Twitter. And, people that pay for the subscription, they do get certain, benefits that other people don't get. So tomorrow we'll be on, I don't know, tomorrow afternoon or evening, we'll announce it later. But I just want to point that out to you. We're not going to answer any questions. Tina Gomez, I really appreciate your question, but I'll answer it tomorrow, okay?
And I'm going to have to say good night and good morning to the other ones.
Sleep well, brother.
Great to see everybody.
Hey,
and everybody,
thank you so much.
Sign up for the cruise, because this is going to be fabulous.
Hey, thank you so much, Tyler. I really, how much I respect you, and I know where you're coming from, and you're a great man, and your hyperwave is going to go down as a definite new innovation. You've taken. Ted Warren would be proud of you. You've taken his whole concepts to a new level, and you know what? Most people don't get it, but I do.
Well, that's great praise. Anything about Ted Warren. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
All right, so here we are. We're still live. Juan, it's getting late. Are you ready to call it a night, or do you have something to say?
I mean, I could stay for a little bit longer, but yeah, it's getting late.
All right, well, you're on.
Well, I really like that the approach you're taking here, Ugly. I think we do. It would be nice to make Bitcoin and make it more family friendly in a sense, right? I think just this conversation has made me realize how stuck in sort of the abstractions and the game theory and the code and the the security of everything, right? Like I'm very focused on my business right now, but yeah, like I think people need very, very practical solutions, and that is what we're trying to do with Be Way Involved, Be Your Involved. But it's I'm really excited about the event. I'm more excited about it now, about the cruise, because I feel like we're gonna get to talk about some topics, hopefully that actually speak to normal people, right? And that's really the goal, right? We want to help normal people enter better money. We want to get them to have better money because
Well,
the current
I
currency
think
system is
I
pretty rough.
I think I met you for the first time. I'm not sure where, but I think it was in Bogota at the Latin America Bitcoin cruise.
Right.
And, and I know and then I've seen the work that you've done, like the interview that you did with Tone Bays. And, we're all learning on this thing. And you've always impressed me as a guy, an honest guy that's really pursuing what Bitcoin's all about. And so that's why I wanted to kind of lift you up and give you the exposure. This is going to be a cruise of people that, are known in the industry, and a lot of people that are unknown that I'm trying to lift up because, this is the not ready for prime time group. Okay. I could have invited, some big names, but we're going to have some big names there, but that's not what this is all about. This is about practical stuff, and this is why I wanted Daisy to come, because she's got a great business. I'm thinking about inviting other people that work for me and just have them come. I'll pay for the cruise. I got one more person in mind. It's a long way away, but you know what? This is where it's at in the future. This is where the tire meets the highway, and this is where we have to go. I mean, I love listening to this other stuff. I I was just listening to Guacamo's today. He just did great. He puts me to shame because he didn't know a word of English 5 years ago, and now he speaks really good English and makes presentations in English. I've lived in Mexico since 2009, and I still don't know the language. So, I compliment him for that, and we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, and I just, like I say, all you guys that are here tonight, I hope I'm giving you guys a jump start. That's all I want to do. I'm not in this. I'm not doing it because I have to do it. I mean, I could retire. I could put all the pesos she needs in a bank account, and I told her I would do that to take care of her for the rest of her life. But I said, you wouldn't be happy with that. You're gonna need to learn how to run a business, how to be in her dream. The G.Lady's dream is to become a world-renowned fashion designer. I have no doubt that she has the talent to do it, and she'll do it. And you know how she's going to do it? She's going to do it through Bitcoin, because we're going to be the fashionable people. We're going to set the culture. We're going to set the standard. And that's what we have to work on. We're going to make mistakes. I have people that work for me. I always tell them, I never will fire you for a mistake. Because you're going to make mistakes. And I've never fired anybody for making a mistake. But if you're dishonest or if you lie to me, then, that's different. And that's what this is about. And so go back to you, Zezo. How much Bitcoin do you give your children? Well, I don't think it's important to give them any. You can give them so much more by what you teach them, by the example that you set. You want to put them in the position that if they have nothing, they can make it into something. And Zezo, you're going to do that. I know you got wiped out. I know how it broke you down, but that was a good thing. That wasn't a bad thing. It's hard to realize it's a good thing now. But later on, when you're my age, you're going to realize, wow, that was a good thing. Ugly was right. So, we're never too old to learn age-old lessons. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. But when you're right, you're right. And when you're wrong, you quickly need to acknowledge it. And when you're right, don't be afraid. Just go for it.
Thank you. But can I ask something from my son to you? Can we make a little goat like a teddy bear? Picture? Should have that.
I don't know.
I think I had to work on that and see how can make,
Mhm.
how can be. Huh?
Yeah, all the equipment and all the makings to make a factory. She just doesn't have a market yet. And I keep telling you, your market is not going to be. She's always wanted to go back to the poor town that she's from. But Bitcoin's not to bank the unbanked. The important thing is for ANEC to be successful, because she'll help more people in that way by giving them jobs. People will benefit from us because they have work. They don't need to know anything about Bitcoin. Yes, it'd be nice if they could. And I'm very honored that one of my assistant now really wants to learn Bitcoin. And that's important. But most people just aren't. And, like most of the people in Mexico don't have bank accounts. They don't have a regular bank account. So how can we expect them to have a Bitcoin bank account? And they're not dishonest people. They're not drug dealers. They're just hardworking people. And so the best thing we can do is give them jobs and create wealth in the local community. That's how they benefit from Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and probably I can start to work and have a goat bear, goat bear, ugly goat bear probably. No,
I guess.
and put it in the market and see what the people wanted.
Well, and that's one thing we're working on. It's really hard to get people to go to the next level, because I've got this website. If you notice, we don't have anything for sale on that website. And yet I tell you, look, your future is this. You got to learn this website. You got to put things on there for sale, because this is where the market is. It's not in the little poor town in Mexico, but you could become internationally renowned as a fashion designer. I mean, just a simple thing. These are simple things. She did this. We got it 5 minutes before we went on, but at least she got something done. And you should see the wedding dress she made. It was just incredible. So, she could make a living just on making customized wedding dresses for people in Bitcoin, because people in Bitcoin, look, they're not, most of us, if we hodl and we do it right, we're not poor people. That's where the market is. And that's where we are the fashion of the future. We are, and we have to recognize that. But not be proud and boastful, but be humble about it and make a statement in the fashion that we do. What do you think, Daisy?
Yeah, I like your statement. I actually wanted to tell a little story about dinner I had last night with 6 of my girlfriends. So we do it every 2 months, so you only have to cook once a year, which is fabulous because you get invited all the other times, and you can just enjoy the conversation with everyone. And of course, they knew I went to Tone's conference in January in Vegas, and then I flew to Malta. So they know I'm in the space, and always, and some more wine gets poured, Bitcoin becomes the subject. And I just, I don't want to force it on them. I'm more trying to ask them questions about, I'm just trying to do little test questions to see what their opinion is, adoption-wise, how they feel about it. And I just really got struck last night about with the answers I got, the fear that people have, all the stuff they throw back at me, why Bitcoin is not good. Actually, one of them, and they're all super intelligent women. One is doctor and her husband's a banker. So she just, and So going back to the debt talk you had, Kestutis, she kept on asking the same question. So if we go to Bitcoin, how am I going to lend the money if I want to lend money? And that's like she's so stuck in thinking about the current system, how she just wants to hold on to it, and the fear of letting go. The fear of letting go of the whole system, how it's built. For them, this is the system they trust. And, so last night I realized that we're still so far away from mainstream adoption, and I just try and make a little like opening in their mind to just listen to what I have to say, but they just completely block it. They're like, stop talking, please. You're insane, Daisy, stop. I mean, I thought you were an intelligent woman. What are you doing in that space? I'm odd, I'm crazy. And so that's what I wanted to say in this talk also. Maybe we can also have a little talk about that on the cruise, because we are so much in the space that sometimes it's just good to take a step back and think about, just the person I see walking across the street now. If I ask them, what do you think about Bitcoin? It's just still so much in, we call it like child shoes in Dutch is like it still has to grow so much, the minds being open to it. So I wanted to share that, the story from last night. I didn't even get to the end of my question list because I had some questions like, would you buy Bitcoin? Why? Yes or no? If I would teach you how to buy Bitcoin and how to store it, would you buy it? And it was just like, no. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So it's interesting.
Can I just say something?
Yeah. Sure.
So first of all, what we're dealing with is the years and years of programming, right? And there needs a certain switch to happen. And usually these people, they only see the results of it, right? So when the price gets 20,000, then they wake up. And then when it goes to 3,000, then you can't find them, anywhere. But these people will eventually going to have to sort of go on the bandwagon, but it's not a necessarily bad news, right? It's because if your friends would already be so much into Bitcoin as much as you, let's say most of your friends, Bitcoin would be, I don't know, $1 million per Bitcoin, something like that. So the process is gradual. These people are going to wake up sooner or later, but I do understand the frustration when you have somebody that and they are so fixated in their programming that they cannot look outside of it and take a different perspective. So you might as well be talking to a wall. And the way I think the best to reach these people, and look, I totally relate to that because I think I understood Bitcoin pretty well, way before I started investing in Bitcoin. And you have to ask the question, what made me hesitate, right? Because I rationally understood that, dollar is no value. This is something that is, does have value that we all intrinsically share, which is time. And yet it took me a couple of years to make that mental switch because I was also programmed with valuing the dollar and valuing the fiat for years, right? So even intellectually understood, it took me a couple of years before I switched into behavior. So it needs a little bit of time for these people. But, as long as you stand your ground, as long as you make a stand, because obviously you're coming from the point of understanding Bitcoin and most people just don't. Then you do your job. That's what I decided. I have a friend who I encouraged to invest in Bitcoin at $500, then again 1,000, then again 2,000, and even today he didn't buy a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, and my friends are saying like, oh, I should have listened to you, yeah, but it's not too late. You can still listen to me now.
They're saying this now because the price rose. It will probably, I tried to explain to them why the euro has no value, and I mean, like went through all the steps. Getting off the gold standard, and just like very simple, like explaining it to a child. And then in the end, they said to me, "So Daisy, this feels like you're threatening us with an apocalypse coming, and you're trying to you're trying to pull us into this sect, this cult of Bitcoin." And so I explained the whole story, and the only thing that I wanted to hear from them was, well, yeah, maybe we should think about what our euro is really worth. That's the only little thought I want to plant in their mind, and then they just throw the "you're crazy" thing back at me. I think we still have so much.
Okay.
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it reminds me a lot of the way that that conversations go as a libertarian or as somebody that's sort of not in the mainstream kind of the zeitgeist of culture, right? I mean, I got into libertarianism when I was 18, so I was like, I've been having that relationship and that conversation with people about most things, including monetary policy and such, for 10 years, and yeah, people, when I had it, because now I'm surrounded by people that are kind of my kind of, just believe a lot of the things that I do, and I miss the normal, right? I miss people that are outside of it because I don't even know what they think anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really fascinating to hear this story.
Yeah. So that's you missed that. Yeah. Well, for me, sometimes it's really like literally when I flew back from Malta, which it was a conference because it was about understanding Bitcoin. And I got in, and actually was in the same plane as Tyler. We both flew to Amsterdam because he had a stopover in Amsterdam to fly to. And I just entered the plane, and there were all these Dutch people.
Background noise there. Sorry.
And for me, it is like I had to put over the switch again. Like, oh yeah, shit! I left the conference. We're back to normal life.
Right.
And just hear the conversations that people were having. Like, I don't even know where to start to just talk to them about where I just came from. This was so amazing. Yeah, Zezo was there. It was amazing. And there's so much to be learned. And they were just having their own little problems about the coffee not coming quick enough in the plane. They're like. Those are the biggest life.
Well, I mean, it's fascinating. What I've found. I recently went back to Colombia and visited a lot of my family and a few old friends. And yeah, my approach these days is never to try to kind of because people take it like you're preaching, right? And so I totally get your hesitation there. I feel like we want to create envy in a sense, right? And then we want to show people how to use that energy in a good way, right? Because we want to look and live a lifestyle that we're like, okay, this is actually really interesting, right? Like they're doing interesting stuff, right? I mean, I don't know exactly what the approach is. I think Ugly is right that we're gonna at some point we're gonna be setting the culture. We are going to be the sort of cultural trend, right? But
if I may add to this, I think it's not a coincidence why it's so difficult to communicate with with these people, because I think there's a split in in the state of consciousness of where you are coming from and where these people coming from. I call them these people, but the thing is that we see this right now. We see who are taking responsibility for their own finance and their own freedom, and they value freedom, right? And you see people who are stuck in this dream, keep running on that hamster wheel. They never see the end, but they are addicted to it. And when you say like, "Hey, come here, you can get out of this hamster wheel. Just buy a Bitcoin, wait for 5 years," and like. They are still too busy running in that wheel.
Maybe
and
they
trying
like the
to chase
hamster
that
wheel,
carrot.
right? Like maybe they like it.
Can
Yeah,
I
they're
add?
like, why,
Maybe exactly. I mean,
why should I
some
buy
people
it?
are.
I'm happy with how my life is going right now.
Yeah, they're
I
fine with
have
it,
my
right?
house, I have my mortgage, I have my payment every month in the bank from the job that I do from 9 to 5. So why would I buy Bitcoin? I'm happy with my life right now.
If
And I say, look at Venezuela, and they're like, but we're in the Netherlands. We're not in Venezuela. You know,
Right.
Can I
they have
add?
to pick their
if
life.
they're happy,
Wow.
I mean, if they're happy, then it's absolutely fine. But if they're complaining, then stop complaining. You know,
Yeah.
like if they're not happy, then do something about it, right? And
Can
I think
I mean,
Guys.
from a diversification, you can make the diversification argument, right? Like going all in on Bitcoin, like I have, and a bunch of people that I know that are those of us that are risk takers, that are reckless and are willing to go all in. Like that's something that most people just don't have the tolerance, the emotional sort of tolerance for. It's too much risk, and they have a lot more investment in their family and their relationships, and they're in society. They're like in the middle of society, like. Some of us are like not there, right? So we can take risks that they can't, or maybe just tolerance alone can explain it. But yeah, like diversification alone, right? It's like, do they not have stocks, right? Like, are they not on? Do they not have? Are they just completely on cash, right? Like you can make a diversification argument that might be a little bit more interesting to them.
Yeah,
But anyway.
Yeah, one of them said that she learned from her father that any money she made, she had to put it in bricks, in bricks or land. So either buy land or buy another house or condo and rent it out.
Right.
So she's like, I would never invest money in anything else than ground and bricks.
Well, look,
Yeah.
the last
Okay,
time.
well, that was a great idea, and I was exactly the same opinion when Bitcoin came out, right? And then I very quickly realized that that's not how it works. Now we have two, so you can utilize both. You can invest in Bitcoin, wait for a few years, pull out, buy a property, and you can remortgage, put it in Bitcoin, and do. I mean, there's things that you can do when you can utilize both systems. I mean, it's not exactly approved, right? But you can do it in a way that it can become very lucrative. So I think the time right now is to use both systems and move on to, but never forget the real estate as well, because too many people are way too much into Bitcoin or trading Bitcoin, and they lose that they could have bought the real estate, they could have pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll step in here. I mean, Juan, I mean, I did 11 years in prison, and when I got out, I had nothing. And so the only thing I had was I didn't, they give you credit, and I knew how to use credit. So I used credit not to buy luxuries, but to buy equipment that would make me money. And that was in 2002. I didn't get into Bitcoin until 2013. But I was like you, yeah, everything. I understood as soon as I saw and studied Bitcoin, I knew what it was, and I didn't have any problem. I didn't consider it risky putting all of my assets into Bitcoin. And I had no, but the difficulty to explain that is very hard. I mean, Amy had to go to bed tonight, but the goat lady never could understand. That I said, I have all this credit card debt that we're paying. It'd be like if I paid that off first, it'd be like getting a $1,000 a month raise. Because I was always, nobody would hire me. I have to be an entrepreneur. I have the blessing that, I'm completely unqualified as an employee. So,
Right.
I was forced to be in business, but I knew, I kept saying, well, but she didn't know how to use credit. In fact, she probably would have misused it if she had credit. And she never, because the credit was acquired before I met her, she never could appreciate what I was telling her. So essentially, I had to build a business from scratch in 2002, and I've incorporated, I think, in 2004. And it took me, a good business takes 10 years to take off. I didn't really make it till finally 2016. I hit a new milestone. I paid off all my debt. I met all of her needs. And I was able to also pay off all my credit card debt. And I also paid my key employee, gave him a nice bonus. And told him,
I'm listening.
sometime I have to get Jesus. I actually have Jesus as an assistant, and so that really helps too. And he's a great guy, and he's got some stories to tell on his own.
Having Jesus as an assistant.
Yes, that's really nice to have Jesus as an assistant, he does. I appreciate him for he doesn't have the I know what he can do. I have more confidence in him than he does with himself. So I constantly have to build him up. But the other thing. This is kind of like, okay, Bitcoin is kind of like the gospel. And when Paul was out and the disciples were out preaching the gospel, if the message was not received, they just, they swept the dust off their feet and they moved on. And that's what you got to do. Okay. This message isn't for everybody. This message is for people that have ears to hear. If they don't have ears to hear, don't worry about it, because they're going to, whether they want to or not, Bitcoin is going to affect them. It's just like the unbanked. I can't teach the people that don't have a bank account. They're living from one day to the next. They can't think more than 12 hours ahead of the time. I can't teach them about Bitcoin. Okay. But they can benefit by the example that I set and by what we are doing. And that's why you guys are so important. That's why, that is why, Juan, I'm impressed by you. You're going to be a great man. You're a young guy. I want to give you a stage. Take the responsibility, run with the ball. That's why Daisy, you see, you're making a great Bitcoin business. Go with it. Don't be afraid. Go for it. Don't be afraid. You can do this. I mean, you guys are you're the future of what we're going to be. And Zezo, I know that you think that, I know how devastated you were. Hey, I've been there and done that. Don't worry about it. You're going to get over it, and you're going to be everybody loves you. You'll probably be more successful than anybody in Bitcoin ever has been. But just wait for it and be patient. And you don't have to leave your son one thing except the legacy of who you are. That's what you teach him. Because you know what? He needs to earn his own Bitcoin. You're not going to help him by handing it to him.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let me say something. Last time I went to see Days and Tone here in the Netherlands. The train, there was a trip.
Last month, yeah.
And they were around 10 to 12 years old. My Dutch is as good as your Spanish. So it's like I'm learning. But I could understand the teacher and all the students were talking about Bitcoin. And you're 10, 12 years old. So I came to the teacher and I was like, it's me or you? Or you guys doing a talk about Bitcoin? And she's like, yeah, we're teaching them about Bitcoin. A school teacher on the train teaching kids about Bitcoin. So there's a start here already. Like I tell my friends there's no more way back. It's done. Or we accept, or you're gonna be behind. And
yeah,
I feel it would blow my mind. I was telling to you one day, Ugly, before my whole life, I felt like why I didn't born in the 60s, why I didn't born in the 30s. And Bitcoin made me like, wow, I born in the right time. This is big.
Yeah, you are. I'm just glad I'm alive. I didn't think I'd make it here. So you know what? Every day I get an extra day. Man, this is so much fun. You guys, this is really fun.
I have a question for each of you guys. What do you think would be best way, in your opinion, if there could be one thing that you could do? What would be the best way to educate people about Bitcoin to the point where they can go, okay, I'm behind Bitcoin. I understand it. I understand what it is. I understand what to do with it. What do you think that would be for you?
I have to say, the place that for me was I wish I could bring all my friends was the Unconfiscatable conference that Tom did in Vegas. Because
conferences.
Yeah, because in the conference you can now have not just the knowledge what the speakers are giving to you, but they hang out with other people. I think conference is the place that everybody. But the problem is, between all these conferences today, few of them are worth to go. And of course, I think books, the one that your friend wrote, Inventing Bitcoin, Andreas Antonopoulos, and right behind you, the Bitcoin Standard. I think that's the way to go now. Like if you read these 3 books and go to a conference, I think they're gonna have enough knowledge to begin to understand. But it is a process. You cannot believe that people are gonna have one talk and they're gonna get in.
Okay, Zezo. So to summarize, you're saying that you should give your friend these 3 books and take it to the conference.
Yeah, if I would take my girlfriends from last night, I would tell them, I'll pay your ticket to Vegas and I'll take you to a conference. They would be totally lost there because and everybody who's going to that conference, you already assume they are somehow into Bitcoin. It would just be too much, all the information that comes to them. So what I try to, because sometimes when I want to tell the story about Bitcoin, I just get lost for words and I go too quick, and then they feel like I'm forcing it up on them, which I don't want to do because I want to do it very subtle. So I do like Andreas Antonopoulos' introduction to Bitcoin video, and I try to make him watch that. And I actually have a few friends that watch that video, and they are more open to Bitcoin now because he's so good at explaining it. Really, like from the start of people trading bananas for goods, and then the banana got into a coin, and then the coin got into paper, and then the paper got digital, and then it's all built on that now. And then he ends up the end of the video is him saying that Bitcoin is the internet of money, and I just love that video. So that's step 1 for me. Try to make him watch that video. Okay. And then we'll take on.
I need to watch that. I need to watch that, Daisy. I haven't seen that one, but I need to send me the link.
Yeah, I will. Actually, I have to run, guys, because I'm going to go to the gym now. You're drinking your drinks, but I have an appointment at the gym with my instructor. So, but does that answer your question, Kestutis?
Yeah, I think I got it. I think the introduction to Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos is what your go-to is. Yeah.
Hey, Daisy.
It's not too long, so. Yeah, Ugly.
Hey, Daisy, I really appreciate you appearing here today, and I really appreciate you wanting to speak at the conference. Yeah. And I really appreciate you understanding what I'm trying to do, because I don't think a lot of people really understand it, and I think you have a full concept. And you know what? You're going to be a very big Bitcoin leader, and I hope it's important. One of my visions is I want to fill up an entire cruise ship.
Is that your vision? Create Bitcoin leaders?
Yeah, you create. I want. If you notice, my marquee is not the All Stars. I could have twisted some arms and gotten the All-Stars, but it's not what I'm trying to do here. But I am trying to do an inaugural Bitcoin, working man's Bitcoin. It's kind of like, what is that? The Burning Man conference. This is the working man's conference. They the Burning Man thing, and it's a big deal, kind of a spiritual thing. Well, this is Bitcoin. Yeah, but this is a working man's. I don't want to insult women, but I use the word man because the man includes women. Okay, it's a woman. It's not man by itself, and so.
But you're creating Bitcoin speakers essentially.
Yes, and this is the inaugural. This is the first time. It's going to be very small, but my goal is within a year or two, and I think it will happen very quickly. Is I want to fill up an entire cruise ship for a working man's Bitcoin cruise, and I think it can be done. And I think it's a very inexpensive way to do things. The entire cruise is like $400. When I priced the conference ticket, like Bitcoin was like 4,000. So the price of the, but I'm not going to reduce the price because it's going to be a hell of a conference. I know it is. It's going to be really, really, really good. And people always wait for the last minute, so that's fine. And this is, hey, this is kind of the B team, but in my mind, you guys aren't B team. You're the A team. This is where it's at. This is what people need. And they are going to recognize this, and you guys are all, you are people I know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. It's not that hard. It's like trading isn't that hard. You have to change your thinking. And don't worry about it, the people that reject you, because most people are going to reject you. You're going to throw out the gospel, and it's only going to take on 5%.
Yeah.
But there's those 5% that's going to change the world. That's the way it's going to be. That's just the way it is.
I guess you're right. You just need to reach that threshold. Juan, what do you think?
Well, what I do is the first thing I do is I show them the price. And I tell them, if you got anywhere, near, this is right. And that's enough to get them interested, right? Usually, I'll talk about it and they'll have some impression of it. And then they'll be like, And then I show the price and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, it's sort of like just get them a wallet, right? So just take out, I'm giving people a green address right now because it's great. And it's if I'm going to send them some Bitcoin, or if I'm going to be sort of let's say I'll buy something up, if I'll buy something off them, or if I'm sending money, sometimes I send money to Canada or Colombia. So I'll do here, I'll give you some Bitcoin and you send them cash in Colombia, right? To get past sort of all the, because international payments are a headache, right? So I'm sort of spreading it that way. And then I'm also doing wallet of Satoshi, the Lightning wallet, which is centralized and stuff. But I'll explain that to them later after I give it to them. But then I'll just give them 10,000 Satoshis, which is $5. No, not even $2, and it'll just be there, and they're like, oh, and the light bulb just kind of will go off, right? It's this is great. This is digital money. Once because with Wallet of Satoshi, it bypasses all the UX barriers. It's just you just download it and it works, and you can do the backup later and stuff. But then obviously after that, I tell them, okay, now go to the backup, and you gotta move your I'll explain it to them afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. But you gotta catch their interest first, and then you get them in. But you can't. It's tricky because beyond that. I found I have to push people a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't know where they go after that. So with some of my friends, I'll actually be like, hey, you wanted to buy Bitcoin. Are you gonna, how's it going? They'll be like, oh yeah, well let's set a meeting, right? So I think it's important to push people. In the bear market, it's useful to push people, and then in the bull market, they want somebody to tell them, hey, dude, I think it may be time to take a little bit of profits. They want to hear that, and then also I found I've learned not to sell Bitcoin to noobs on the way down. Like if we peak, like if we did a 21%, 23%, 25% correction, like if we know like we've mooned, don't sell to noobs, sell to pros, sell to veterans. And then if you're on the way up, if you're starting to enter a bull market, then sell to the noobs, because then the noobs will ride up, right? Whereas if you sell it to them at the top, they'll kind of have a bad taste in their mouth. There's just a bunch of etiquette things, right? But I think coming hard with the philosophy and the economics is just way over their heads, right? Like libertarians have been trying to do economic outreach for 30 years, 40 years. I mean, I don't know. It goes back to Rothbard, 50 years. People don't care. Most people don't care about economics. They care about now. They care about the money now. And they care about, within their visible time frame, right? And I think we can help them with that, and then teach them to HODL and then HODLing is hard. Like I've had a hard time. I certainly haven't HODLed as well as I should have. And so it's, but it's a bit of a lifestyle, right? I don't know. Some thoughts.
Juan,
So-
I need to talk to Juan for a minute. Hey, I just want to let you know and the audience know, one of the reasons that I have always been interested in you and impressed by you is I did do 11 years in federal prison. And one thing that I learned to deeply respect the business acumen of Colombians. Of all the people in Latin America, they are without doubt the businessmen. In fact, my understanding is you really never, what is it? What is the drug? Cocaine. The cocaine was all grown it's grown in Bolivia, but the Colombians figured out, that, hey, this is a good business. But the Colombians in prison basically ran the prison, and they were the reason they ran it is because they were very honest businessmen. They were very industrious, and they ran the laundry, they ran the store, they had all kinds of businesses within the prison system. And I came to, of all the people in Latin America, I came to respect Colombians as the best men to do business with, because they could always be trusted.
I'm happy to hear you've had a good impression of our culture, even in those circumstances. I mean, yeah, I think there is something to that. Just a little bit of a context there. Like I think Colombia was there's a lot of Arabic culture, Colombians, and a lot of East European stuff, and so I don't know. There's something there, but anyway, yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. I've heard some good things too.
I know I come from a different perspective from the rest of the world, but I have a very high regard for Colombians. And one of my very best friends who I've lost contact with, and I'd love to his name was Jose Munoz. If any way you can get me in contact with the guy, anyway, we lost contact with each other, and I love the guy from Colombia, and I would love to get back in. And I've tried, various Facebooks and all that, just haven't been able to connect. But I know he finally got out, and he was a great man who I love dearly, and I've always tried to find him. I haven't been able to.
Let's unmute things because we.
Oh, what do I do? Go.
I have to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye, and I'll send you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Post it under the video.
Yeah.
Yes, link. And actually,
All right, that'd be great. Okay.
when people are open to it, I also make them install a Lightning wallet and send them some satoshis, and they love it. I'm like, it's instant, and but then they have to be open for that. So,
All right. Hey, I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to. Is your speech at the Bitcoin conference going to be your inaugural speech?
Kinda, yeah.
All right. Well, that's what I want. This will be your first one, because it'll be a great one. I'm really.
I give workshops, but they are about photography, not about Bitcoin. actually did a workshop 2 days
Right.
ago.
This is going to be about Bitcoin and your business.
Yeah.
You can talk about your business all you want, but yeah, this is really going to be good. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate where I'm going with this because everybody's so much into Bitcoin they can't. We have to we got to bridge this gap. We got to bridge the gap from Bitcoin to people, and we're going to do that at this
Sure,
conference.
we're going to do that. I loved this this talk, guys. Have a good sleep. Zezo, have a good day. Kuan, I think you're also going to go to bed now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the cruise. Really, it's going to be amazing. So everybody watching, sign up.
Okay.
Okay, ciao.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye. All right. So, okay, we're down to just a few of us now. Okay, Juan, I left off with you. I think I talked about my prison experience and the wonderful Colombians that I met. That I never met a Colombian I didn't like.
In this way, Erle, if somebody has Bitcoin now and got in jail for 10 years,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the easiest he can have it.
The best thing that can happen to you is have some Bitcoin and end up in prison.
Yeah. If you cannot trade your bedrock and your Bitcoin is just going up. I think now that's the deal.
There's too many people already doing that with ICOs.
Yeah, if Ross ever gets freed, he'll come out on top of the whole world, won't he?
Yeah. And he'll come out ripped too. He'll be just like, just completely.
Hey, that's something. That's
ripped and rich, like that's
ripped and rich. Yeah.
okay. That's something we can talk about. It's just the four of us now. Let's talk about this. This is going to be a hard subject, but I think it should be addressed. What do you think about the Free Ross campaign? And I mean, yes, and I'm just leaving it at that. I'll just leave it at that. What do you think of the Free Ross campaign, Zezo? I'm going to start with you.
Ugly. That is a very difficult question because for me, definitely in a libertarian way, he was doing something, giving access to people to a freedom, and that freedom is up to you to how you use this freedom, right? So for one way, I believe what he did was incredible, but in another way, I think I don't agree the way what was done on the Silk Road. But the harsh of his sentence is something that I don't agree. I think we got punished much more about the fear of the government has about Bitcoin, what was done inside of that system. So I think it was too harsh, the punishment.
What was wrong?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what was wrong with Silk Road, Zezo?
That's the thing. I think for me, as I say, the good thing he gave is that about the freedom that everybody has the choice to do what they want. But maybe because I grew up in a country where drugs has a lot of bad consequence about crime and about my background is against all that because
wait a minute. What you say? Drugs are bad in your country? Where do you live? You live in the Netherlands. You live in Amsterdam. Where do you live, Zezo?
I grew up in Brazil.
Brazil.
Right. I know you grew up in. Where do you live now?
In the Netherlands.
That's the reason he moved.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
Better drugs in Netherlands.
Yeah. But the problem for me was it's a double knife problem here because I am pro the freedom he gave that, the opportunity that you could do. He never created something that make you buy guns or drugs if you don't want. He gave the freedom of choice. But in another way, there's a side of me that maybe I lost too much friends in that world. And it's still, I don't believe humankind is prepared to have that responsibility for that freedom. But the punishment he got for that, for me, is not acceptable. I think life sentence for a young man is too harsh. He didn't deserve that.
Yeah. What I want to mention about this is that we have to look at it, because the law is a law, but I don't think every law is morally legitimate. In the countries that have the drug problem, quote unquote, are the ones that have drugs illegal.
Yeah.
The countries that legalize the drugs and have special clinics and for people who are addicted and they help them, there isn't such thing as drug problem. There is a drug addict who is receiving the best support that he can receive, but that's what we have. That's the worst case scenario, right? And so with the whole drug system, it's very interesting. And it's just like, you can't use this drug because it's readily available and you can grow it in the backyard, but you can use this expensive drug that can kill you if you mix with the alcohol, but you got to buy it from us 100 times the markup, right? So let's be honest here. The thing is it's all business. It's all about having the corporate control and influence. It's not about worrying what's best for people, and who are you to say that any grown adult shouldn't do whatever it wants with their body, right? It's, and also when it comes to addiction, they say, well, we want to take care of that. What would happen if anyone could just buy drugs? Well, it turns out that there's not more people ending up buying drugs, but you will have a lot of more people in prison, and that's great for business too. The prison business is booming, right? So when you have the incentive, a commercial incentive, you will have these laws that are not morally sound at all. So I'm going, beyond that and questioning, the moral grounds of these laws, because right now we did have the proof that it does work in many countries where you do legalize, the things get better, not worse.
But look, I'm pro the manifest for freedom. That I'm completely pro. But it still, I think, was a step ahead that we should have first wait or educated people about it. I believe you're right. Nobody have to have the right to tell anybody if they can use or not the drugs. But I think we should have first a way to educate the people about it, what the consequence to have or not. And so for me, I think the problem for me was the way that he built the Silk Road was something that he had intention to benefit people or just benefit himself.
So I covered this story, in some depth when I was working as a journalist. When I started my career, the first 3 years of my career were journalism, and that's when that happened. And there's an article I'll share in the links in the comments on YouTube about it. But I mean, it's a really complicated situation, obviously. I think one of the aspects of it is that the trial itself was a complete travesty. There's pretty good evidence for that. There's been a lot of court hearings and appeals after that reveal a lot of things. There's a lot of evidence that wasn't allowed to be submitted to the court. There was a lot of corruption, right? Like some of the cops that busted Russ were also involved in crypto hacks and scams. It's a real mess. It's about as corrupt a sting operation as you can come up with. I don't know that all the details off the top of my head today, but if you go down the rabbit hole, it's pretty ugly. Some of the cops that busted him have actually been ended up in prison, or maybe not in prison, but there's been like serious court accusations made against them, and there's been court cases and such. So anyway, I don't know many of the details, but it's more complicated just on that alone, right? Now, as far as like
well, let me interrupt you.
Sure, definitely want to add some to that.
Yeah, let me interrupt you for a minute, because I am going to throw this out. I did my time, and I did 11 years in federal court and in the federal prison system. And during that time, I did study probably hundreds of cases, at least 100 in detail. I threw a lot of them out, but any of them that I thought had merit, I would pursue. And during that time, I would interview the prisoner, and they would have no reason to lie to me. In fact, I would tell them, please, tell me the truth, because it's the only way that I can help you. And of course, I was in there. I was in for white collar crime, but it was for bank fraud and mail fraud. But most everybody else was in there for drugs. And in not one instance of all the hundreds of cases that I examined, and that people had no reason to lie to me, did I find that the amount of drugs seized and the amount of dollars seized matched. In most cases, the drugs was less and the money was less. In what I call the more honest cases, the money was less than what they had actually, the drug dealer said that they had. And then and it's oftentimes as much as 80% less money, 80% less drugs. And so, my conclusion was that the largest drug dealer in the world is the United States government, and it is the largest drug dealers in the world is the FBI and the CIA and the DEA. And there's no question in my mind, but it's like trying to talk Bitcoin to the American people. They're not going to, who am I? They're not going to buy what I'm telling them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
any student of history knows that the drugs are a way to conquer a nation, right? Like there's some theories of history that whoever controls the opiate and the flow of opiates, it controls the world, right? Like I believe the British Empire controlled it for a long time, and then Afghanistan. That's one of the reasons Afghanistan is such a mess and such a magnet for conflict, right? The British try to take down China by supplying addictive drugs, right? And I think that's where there's some sympathy for the case against some of the hard drugs, right? Some of these things are addictive poisons that will reduce people's capacity to make choices. It'll turn them into addict zombies, and that's fundamentally destructive, right? Like at what point does it not become poison, right? And so there's some tricky questions there, but I mean, Russ Ulbricht was as far as we can tell, the way that Silk Road was run was about as ethical as you could run a dark market. There was no guns, there was no child porn and stuff like that. It was all sort of non-violent crimes, right? Basically illegal drugs. And I mean, if you run heroin, that would be crack cocaine, like the heavier drugs. That's probably where I would start to, have ethical kind of, problems with it. But beyond that, like it was, and they had a big forum with a lot of education in it, right? It had a big community. So I think there's a lot of reasons to think that it was it's a great injustice, and that's why so many people are so passionate about it. But yeah, they wanted to make an example of him because it was such a kind of blatant disregard for the law, right? And so
For me, it's like this. I think the punishment is extreme. I do believe people should have the right to do what they want with their body, their mind. But for me, my problem with what he did for me, I felt it was one step ahead in time. Like people should know and get educated first, because addiction on this kind of drugs can very, very be dangerous for the person, the family. So, but I believe his punishment is not about that. The punishment, he was very clear to teach people to not deal with Bitcoin, to get away from
See,
that.
so I see. So you're saying that that was a move based on a fear for the economic threat to fiat by Bitcoin. Is that what you're saying? Is that the message?
For me, was but basically this. That I think was a way to scare the people and to link Bitcoin with something illegal. Basically, you can. What my view? I don't believe he should be punished as he did. Maybe a fine. That's it. But I believe he jumped the gun in two ways: on Bitcoin, and one about giving people access to something that I believe we should educate the people first. It's hard because I'm pro freedom, but I'm pro responsibility as well. And that is a very hard question for me.
There's a battle, I think, between two protocols, and one is Bitcoin protocol, and the other one is the current power control protocol, right? So those are like two programs battling each other out, and only one of them will win.
Yep.
But the way when they kept on saying New World Order, and they had this pretty much the fascist vision of controlling every single person with the click of a button. They have this absolute psycho, effort to try to control everybody, because it comes from the very basic primitive reptilian values, right? That's what happens when you expand your cortex to the size that we have, but we still have reptilian values, right? That is why it's a devolution. So all these people that have this addiction of control, like, Alan Greenspan has an addiction to printing money, right? And that's the only way. And the amount of suffering that created is unnecessary, right? And it's only because of that addiction that these people have in these key areas, and it's a problem. I mean, they have a problem. They have addiction to power. And they're not going to let it go, because it's an addiction. It's the same thing as asking the heroin addict, hey, stop using it. That's the same thing. Us asking, these key people running the world, stop doing that. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to interrupt a little bit, because my view is kind of maybe a little bit different and maybe a bit radical, but I do think that I think that the example was made not for what Ross did, but for what he had taken away from those who were in the drug business. In other words, this was a move by the competition, which I think is the United States government. And I know that what I'm saying, I might be wiped out tomorrow for saying it, but, for example, Sean Hannity, which, he has some really great stuff, and I have a high regard and respect for him, but he's completely either naive or deliberately ignoring the idea that the FBI and the CIA and the DEA are not thoroughly corrupt from top to bottom. He says, it's just those at the top. And of course, with the investigation on Trump and we've seen the corruption at the top. But he says, "Oh, it's only at the top." No, it's not. I've seen the bottom, and it's thorough. And I'm sorry to say, but your local FBI agent that lives next door to you, your DA agent that you may know, my U.S. attorney who I did know, and your CIA agent who you don't know, they're all thoroughly corrupt, and they're on the take, and they are, they're part of the drug trade. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. The statistics don't add up. I saw it in prison, and I get out, and I can ask just about any deportee down here, and, yeah, I put Eddie on here now. Well, how much money did you have, and how much drugs did you have? Well, his money, and it wasn't unusually, it wasn't in cash. It was $340,000 in a bank account. So that's accounted for, but it was cash. That would have been different. But his drugs, amazingly, how much drugs they report? What was the drug difference, Eddie?
2 kilos
Less. All right. Whatever he had, it was 2 kilos less, they reported. He wasn't going to say anything, because if those 2 kilos were put on the charges, he would have gotten more time.
and 10 years straight.
He'd have gotten 10 years instead of, how much time did you get?
50 months.
You got 50 months. So he's looking at 50 months or 10 years. Now, is he going to say, "Oh, these FBI agents, who was it that busted you, FBI or DEA? DEA. Oh, the DEA. Oh, no, they're straight up guys." No, they took the drugs. They're drug dealers. Well, why didn't you get it? U.S. You get people power, they're going to abuse it. Sorry, that's the way the world works. I like Mexico in the sense that I call it, and I've written an article about it, there's such a thing as honest corruption and, the hidden dishonest corruption. America is corrupt and it's hidden. Mexico, yeah, it's corrupt too, but I call it honest corruption. I can see it. I can deal with it. No problem. And it's a much more stable and honest society because of it. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I just want to tell you guys that I have a different perspective from any of you, because I just see the United States government is the biggest drug dealer in the world. And until in the United States, the people of the United States just aren't going to recognize that. Now, I think there's a day coming where they will. But it's going to come for a really weird reason, because my wife has severe health problems. And who now it used to be that we'd buy the best marijuana from Colombia or wherever, but now the best marijuana and the best THC you can get, for your health cures is produced in California in the United States. So very soon, the United States is going to become the world's largest drug exporter, and we're going to have a whole different perspective of the drug wars. And suddenly we're going to be against anybody that has a war on what we're trying to export.
Yes, but the good news is that people will slowly wake up and stop fighting, because they're all going to be high.
Well, maybe. I don't know about that. I don't, I am a pass user, but I don't know. I certainly like my tequila and I like my beer, but only very occasionally.
I would like to see the world where people, instead of, abusing, well, not necessarily abusing, but people who are drinking alcohol replaced with weed. I wonder what would happen.
Weed's great in many ways, but it's got some dark sides. If you smoke a lot of weed in your teenage years up to like 23 or so, you have like a higher risk of schizophrenia and psychosis and such, and anyway, there's
addiction.
It can make people paranoid too, but anyway, everything in excess can have its
right.
But weed is way better than alcohol, that's for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, anything in excess is not good. But I do think that weed, if we consider a drug, is much better drug than an alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, and all that said, I love my tequila and some beers occasionally, right?
I didn't smoke a lot of weed when I was young, and people always, I heard about you can have a problem with memory.
Was it the best Zezo? Was it the best times that you ever remember?
But that's the thing. People say I would have a problem with memory.
Oh, you don't even remember? Really? Man, I promise you, it was good. It was definitely good.
All right. Well, Duarte, Zezo, Zezo, we're going to be a little bit on common ground because I know that you're a Christian man, and that's how I identify as that, as a born again Christian. And we know that nothing that is prohibited. I mean, the beautiful thing with Christ is we are free, and because he paid for the things that we did. And so, but by the same token, drunkenness is something that we don't want to do. And if something becomes an addiction, we know that we've crossed the line there, that there is one God and there shall be no one else before him. And so, and I'll let you go on from there. Give us your testimony.
For me, Ugly, I grew up in a very Catholic family in Brazil, and I do. It's funny that when I got wrecked, the first thing came to me was my grandmother and the faith that woman had, right? And how much I was lacking of faith in that moment. Because for me, I just saw the dark side. I just saw the pains part of it. And it was good I think the best thing was to make me step back and think about that, about even my faith. And one thing I hope don't happen is people mistake and put Bitcoin in a pedestal too high. There is, I believe, is one of a gift, is a bless, but we cannot think my fear is where is the line that we believe in Bitcoin and we begin to begin to be a religion of Bitcoin, where we begin to praise and forget about this one thing that was created is not something that is human, is not in a way divine. So
very good. I agree with you completely. It is a creation of man. It should not be worshipped. It is a useful tool, and that's what we need to teach. It's a sound form of measurement, of weights and measures, which we're commanded to use, and it's the most sound form of measure that man has ever come up with. And so that's why it's valuable, but it certainly is not to be put on a pedestal to be worshipped or to be like a god or a religion.
Yeah, and I think that might be why we're seeing some of these millionaires, or in many cases millionaires made through Bitcoin, though not always, right? Calvin Ayre made his money in gambling before that, right? But now we have Roger Ver, and then Craig Wright's made probably his money, and then we'll have more, right? And I think that's going to be kind of the interesting thing. There's been some balancing out of the sort of the ego, in a sense, or the greed, right? That energy, that the extreme of being hyper focused on money, and the internet is the good news, that the internet kind of balances it out. Like this sort of free forms of expression, and the market does balance it out, but it's I find that it's tragic that some of the people that were heroes, right? Because Roger Ver was a hero to me before everything happened, right? Like Roger Ver is super OG. Like he invested in blockchain.info, which 5 years ago was like the only one of the only wallets, was one of the best wallets, right? Invested in a lot of exchanges, and then empty gox the sketchy stuff started to come out, and then at some point the fork happened, and now he became sort of the Bitcoin Judas, right? And so to see kind of like the arc of this guy go from this great, benevolent, kind of generous Bitcoin millionaire to the guy that tried to fork Bitcoin, it's a good tale of the danger of money, right? So yeah.
Yeah,
One.
can I just say something about Roger Ver? I think there was a little switch in Roger Ver's attitude, and let me tell you what that was. It was him trying to propose, his approach to Bitcoin, and completely refused by Bitcoin Core. Not even having a sort of a conversation. Pretty much, no, you're dumb, and kind of get away. Now, being a billionaire, that can really, affect you. You may want to create.
That's not really what happened, though. Sorry, that's not really what happened. Like there was like months of debate in the blog in BitcoinTalk.org. Months of debate. There was conferences. There was a lot of debate, right? I mean, maybe Thymus, which was and probably is the chief admin of blog Bitcoin Talk. And I think Bitcoin, our Bitcoin too, he's involved in it. I don't know who's the top admin or anything, but like they started to shut down the Bitcoin Cash fork, and it became with, I think it started with a classic and unlimited and such, which was the idea that you could have an alternative code base to that of the one of the open source found in a sense that was being developed by that was the chain of code from Satoshi, right? So it was like you can't just fork over to this one, which has different consensus rules. That's an altcoin, and you can call it Bitcoin all you want, but that's a scam and that's inaccurate. So what they did is first they categorized it as an altcoin in the forum, and then they started screaming censorship. And then when it started to enter conversations about Bitcoin with topics about changing consensus rules in a non-consensus way, that's when the censorship started. And that happened like at the bottom of the 2013 bear market. And that continued. That was before Bitcoin Cash. That was like Bitcoin Classic, and it was with Mike Hearn and some of these guys. So
I gotta intervene here. Okay.
But this is very important. I think let's just finish it a little bit very quickly.
Go ahead, then I'm gonna get my 2 cents in.
The consensus idea is that Bitcoin, every time it upgrades, it forks, right? And there's one orphan and one main. But what picks the orphan, what picks the main is the centralized nature of it, right? And Roger Ver, I mean, I didn't agree with his idea, but I did agree with what the core was planning, because I saw technical drawbacks of his idea. However, his idea was valid, and that's what makes the Bitcoin evolve. These little different ideas, and we just happen to have that Bitcoin core went that way. And it's good that it did that way because it worked. The system worked, right? And everything that forked off became an orphan.
Okay, right? I need to intervene. Okay, because I'm not going to allow terms to be misused. And one term that is not acceptable is the idea that Roger Ver has been censored. He has not been censored. Censorship comes from an authority that has power, that has guns to enforce. And he has been shunned. But shunning is, to me, not allowing him on my forum, that is not censorship. That's my right to not let him on my forum. And so there's a big difference when I will not accept his idea, his story that he's been.
But you guys are fueling him. You're fueling him with rejecting him like that. That's what really.
No, I'm not rejecting him. It's not rejecting.
Roger Ver was a good guy, and he's still a good guy. But everybody's bashing on him.
I'm not saying he's not a good guy. I'm just saying that there's a big difference between.
So of course he's going to fight you. Of course.
It's not a fight.
Just have a conversation with him, man.
I don't have a problem with. Hey. That was my next place where I'm going to go, okay? This is my next place where I'm going to go. But don't say that I'm censoring him.
No,
If I'm shunning him, ignoring him, not giving him a platform is not censorship. And that's where you guys are really wrong. I'm not going to buy into that censorship debate. Now, okay, let
I
me
agree.
go.
I agree with you.
No, let me continue. Let me continue, because this is a hot topic, and you know what? I have a high, I too have a high, I really like Roger. But things corrupt us, and I'm not above being corrupted myself. Okay.
It didn't corrupt him. He was a billionaire before he came up with it. Like,
He's not a billionaire. He's a millionaire.
Out of the, huh?
Okay, it doesn't make any difference if he's a billionaire. The thing is censorship.
But he did it. I think it's a hot topic.
Okay, but shunning is not censorship. Censorship is something that's done by force. Now, we had an earlier discussion. This was the next thing I was going to ask you guys, but it's getting to be too hot. I think it was Daisy said, "Well, why don't you invite Roger to come on the cruise?" You know what? I'm open to that. And you know what? I know you've done an interview with him, which I highly.
I debated him. Yeah, I debated him, and he's really hard to talk to. Like the guy is right. He's not having discussions. He's
no, and I'm willing to have. You know what? Right, and so that's I will. I'll. You know what? I'll do the same thing for Roger Ver that I do with all the speakers. You'll get the free cruise, and I'll pay for your airfare and your expenses if he wants to come. But he's not a sponsor us, and he has to have a little bit of respect for our decorum. And in that respect, I understand that he is highly offended if I call his coin Bcash. So I would agree to call it Bitcoin Cash, but he must also call Bitcoin Bitcoin. There is no such thing as Bitcoin Core. Bitcoin is the longest chain with proof of work. So we can discuss things with the correct terms. There is Bitcoin and there is Bitcoin Cash. But if he brings up Bitcoin Core, he's off the platform.
And he will. And he has.
Well, then if he can't come on with that agreement, then he's not welcome.
I mean, it's up to him,
that's
right?
The whole point. What? But you know what? He is welcome if he acknowledges that Bitcoin is the largest chain with proof of work. That is what Bitcoin is. I'm not into all the back end. Okay, I am into competition on the standard, Hayek standard, which is the Bitcoin standard, which is the longest chain with proof of work.
Yes, but you guys are all talking about the intellectual stuff.
I am not talking anything about intellectual. There's nothing intellectual about the longest chain and proof of work. It's something even an ugly old goat can understand it.
What happened? This is much deeper, guys. There's things that are much more simple. The guy was just pushed out of the club, and he created his own empire. That's why he did it.
Yeah.
You can say whether it was right or wrong, but that's why he did it.
Wait a minute, Kestutis
going to double down.
Kestutis.
And you guys need to.
He's free to do that. He can do that all he wants.
How was he pushed out of the club? You said he was he was never pushed out. You're wrong on that, Kestutis. How was he pushed out? I didn't push him out.
He was pushed out.
How? By who?
Look, I mean.
By what?
Yes, he was.
But why what? Are you buying into the Arabic? That's just one forum.
I mean, you asked me a question, I can answer.
Okay, answer it.
So what I'm saying here is that he felt like he was,
he felt like it. I agree.
You guys are saying that, like, we just decided to create his own, and somebody corrupted him at some point, and he just decided to be this evil. I
never said he's evil. I've never said that.
No, he just was opposing that idea and just went out of control. It came from his own ego. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that that's right.
I agree.
What I'm saying is that you gotta stop fueling his ego. The more you're gonna fight him on this, the more he's gonna double down. You know.
The thing is, like,
And
he's
that's up
more or
to
less
him. That's
irrelevant
not
now.
us.
Like, he's more or less
Right.
irrelevant now. Like, this
Yeah.
discussion has happened. Like, the debate has happened. The fork happened. This topic is over. Like we can talk about it.
Right,
That's
the
fine because
topic
we're
is over.
nerds about it.
The
But
price is determining what's going
Yeah.
on here, and you know I don't want to see Roger lose his fortune if he's going to if he's going to be obstinate in Bitcoin Cash. That's up to him. You know, large traders become small traders. That's the history of the world, and you know Roger is set to become an irrelevant nobody.
Yeah,
For me,
maybe it is kind of like old news, and maybe he is eventually going to join back the as he calls Bitcoin Core, you know, and maybe he is going to become the same person that he was before.
it would be great to have his cooperation. He's an incredible entrepreneur. He's one of the hardest working men and that I've ever met, and I've seen him work. The guy doesn't stop, and he's a great marketer. It'd be great to have him back, but like I don't know that I don't know that it'll happen, and I don't know that it would be easy to have him back because there's so much bad blood, and
Well,
there's things that he says, right? Like there's just too much bad blood.
Here, look, hey, Juan.
Mm-hmm.
With Ugly Old Go, the door is open, always.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I don't care how far you go down the wrong rabbit hole, or what sins you committed, or what ICOs you screwed up with and entered. I did all that. I understand it. So I'm not here to condemn Roger here.
I have a question.
It's not what I'm about, man. And what I am about is sound money. And the competition is going to be on Bitcoin, and it's going to be on Bitcoin because it is the largest chain with proof of work. And it's not going to be over competing standards. It's going to be, the competition is going to be on one standard. And those of us who understand that, and those of us who build that on that standard, not on the crap coins, not on the shit coins, but we build it on Bitcoin, we're going to be the influencers. We're going to be the culture of the world to come. And that's where we're going. And I don't want to leave. Roger's going to leave himself behind.
Can I say
he's a
something?
nice
I
guy.
don't want to
He's a nice guy.
Guys, can I say something?
With somebody like
Yeah.
being back
You're on one.
Okay, listen. For me, Roger, on the beginning of the history of Bitcoin, was somebody very important. I don't agree what he did. I don't agree why he did. But I believe that the reasons that he left Bitcoin soon don't going to exist anymore. Bitcoin going to provide and have everything that he think there is not right now. So I believe he's going to be the kind of project son, that left home and going to come.
The fallen angel.
Not because the Bitcoin that just going to fail. Bitcoin will.
Zezo, I hope you are right. And that is my deepest heart and desire. Okay. But I'm old enough that, I praise you in your hope and don't lose that hope. And maybe it won't happen until he's older than the old goat. He might be 70 or 80 years old. It's really, Duarte, you're a Christian man. It's hard to admit when you're wrong. The most difficult thing about being, born again is you have to recognize your own sin. You have to confess it. And wow, that's hard. And you know that. And that's what, that's the epiphany he has to have.
But I think he will have, because I believe he's a good person. I don't agree. I think the attack that he did to Bitcoin, the way he play a victim, I don't agree.
Oh, I'm going to argue. I'm going to argue with that, Duarte. I believe that we're all totally depraved. Okay, that there's not one of us, not one. There's nothing good in me except by what someone else has done for me, and so no, I don't think there are such thing as good men. There are such thing. You know, we're only as good as we walk in the path of the Lord.
Yeah, I think, but I think there's the only thing I don't know yet if he will come back because Bitcoin Cash fail first or Bitcoin succeeds first, because it's going down. That thing is going down, and I think he begin to learn the people he begin to associate it together, like Craig Wright. He's learning the hard way. And he will learn, because I think he's a good man. I believe he have a good intention, and he's a very hard workman. That guy work hard. That we have to agree.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Ron, you're on, man.
Oh yeah. He's very hardworking for sure. What was the question? I was just looking at the price of Bitcash.
Where is the big cash?
It's not doing well.
It's not doing well. I can already foresee. Well, I haven't been selling it short. I was, but I've been just concentrating on Ethereum. So, okay, but let's get Kestutis, because he kind of takes it to you. Let us have Kestutis have a word on this thing.
Which one do you think, the Roger Ver?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, everybody's focusing on the superficial, and very few actually look behind it in human psychology. And if you look in that area, you'll see, right? If you know a little bit about psychology, you'll see the evolution of Roger Ver and him turning slowly. And the more he's being, pushed on that, the more he pushed back. And he created something unbelievable, right? He was so close. Maybe not close, but come on, man. He gave Bitcoin a run for its money. That's unbelievable. And so I think he proved that he's kind of forced to be reckoned with, and that's all he wanted. He wanted to be heard. He wanted to be part of the club, and he felt like he wasn't. Maybe he was too stubborn about his idea. But guess what? If he was listened to, and then instead of just saying, "Okay, that's a stupid idea," instead of saying that, "Okay, that's a valid idea, we considering that, but here's our few problems."
Yeah, but
everything became about this division, and that's what it derailed.
But Kestutis, Bitcoin is not a club. You can't. There's no member. You know what? If it's a club, I've been left out from day one.
The majority consensus proposed the idea that was
who are the dark people in the black box? Because that's what you're talking. People. I've seen the people that have outwardly tried to control the black box, but maybe there's somebody controlling the back box. But it's beyond me. I've seen everybody that's tried to control that black box can't. So I'm thinking that, hey, this protocol is sovereign in itself. It can't be controlled. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yes, but he proposed the idea, and he tried. He committed to it so much that was his ego, right? That was his business side. That was the result, right? That his personality. It wasn't that he did it out of. I'm sure as he was doing it, he realized that what he's doing is not exactly correct. Right, I'm sure he had some.
Well, he realized like 3 months later when Craig Wright forked him, and then Craig Wright forked him to make an even bigger blockchain with even bigger blocks. Yeah. And that's when he realized there's this moment where he's like, yeah, maybe you don't want to have open-ended blocks.
Okay.
Right. Anyway.
Right.
You know what? Maybe we should go visit Roger Ver's. I could share screen and we do Roger Ver's website, but if I'm not mistaken, like he has Bcash, not just Bitcoin Cash, but what's the other one? He's involved in a bunch of shit coins.
Yeah, he's about.
Yeah, so it really is. Yeah, and he has links to those. So it really isn't about having a protocol that's above everybody else. I mean, Roger wants control. And that's what I see as
Exactly, because that's what he felt like he didn't. You see my point?
No, I
That's
don't see the point.
conversation.
But you don't understand Bitcoin if you want to control it.
No, that's not about the Bitcoin. It's about Roger Ver, and his craving for the control because he did not felt like he had a control in the consensus.
But
That's
yeah,
why.
because he didn't.
It's the same
Because
thing.
no one does. Because
nobody
that's the
does.
whole point. That's the
Yeah.
point.
Well,
That's
Even the idea that
that's the essence.
nobody and everybody does.
No.
Nobody and
no,
everybody.
like
No,
it might be
nobody
done.
does.
Like it might be not
No,
possible
like that's how it
to do
works,
a hard
right?
fork
Guys,
on
let's
Bitcoin.
just be real here for a second, okay? Let's just be real for a second. That's how consensus works. You have the group of people, scientists, over 100 scientists, right? But then anyone can propose a Bitcoin improvement proposal, right? Anyone can propose. But the system, the way it works is that we rely on the centralized system to come up with the best possible improvement protocol.
What? Wait a minute. You've thrown out a lot of things here, Kestutis.
Yeah,
but
that's
okay, I want to
exactly how
ask
it
you
works.
one thing. You need to define your terms.
It's evolution, guys.
No, okay, but define your terms. You need to what is consensus.
And
I was just listening to Guacamole, what? Please tell me. I can't remember.
Guacamole.
Yeah, and I didn't get all of it, but he was talking about this and how the term consensus has been perverted. And so how you need to define your terms before you talk about consensus.
Okay, fair enough. I'll define my term. Consensus means is that the general unifying decision of the people. For example, you have users that they can be part of consensus, and users did speak up, right? And they did have the say in Bitcoin evolution, in the process of evolution. Miners, they also have a say, right? And everybody has the say, but the system is built in such way that we rely on the evolution, guys, okay? And any idea is a valid idea, and if it's valid idea, it's going to be filtered out and it's not going to work. So anybody who's forking Bitcoin is providing Bitcoin opportunity to evolve, is providing the competition, is providing things. So Roger Ver said, okay, maybe Lightning Network would not even happen if not for Roger Ver, okay?
Nah, that's not true. That's really not true. In fact, Roger Ver really didn't have that much impact.
I'm just pushing it here, but the fact is that the transaction speeds was the issue, right? It wasn't a big issue, but it was an issue. And we did resolve it with the Lightning Network, and at least within the process, right? That did happen. So I don't think you guys realize that these quote unquote bad things like forking Bitcoin is a bad thing, but it is a part of it, is a necessary to become.
I don't have a problem with him forking Bitcoin. Like, fork it. It's open source software. It's MIT license. You can fork it all you want. The problem with that a lot of people like me, or at least the problem that I have with Roger, is the deceptive marketing and the marketing attack. That's what bothers me. And this cult-esque kind of approach to stealing the vision of, like, this is the true vision of Satoshi. Like, it just, like, you couldn't come up with a more obvious scam than VSB, and VSB like got away from them, right? It got away from Bcash, even though it was a similar narrative. But I understand that people can believe that, because I have friends that believed it, right? Like, the fork was deeper than just the code. It was like a community fork. Like, friends of mine became Bcashers, right? And so I get it. Like, I get it that the mindset of somebody on the other side is sometimes pure, but I think, and the other thing is, like, he didn't have as much influence as you put it. I think I've done a few interviews with people that were, you know, pretty involved in the fork, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. And there's a good case to be said that Bitcoin would have kept going even if a lot of the exchanges dropped it, and like, you know, I mean, we'll never know because it didn't happen, right? But if UASF was activated, we don't know what could have happened. Bitcoin might have just not cared, right? Bitcoin might be big enough that it wouldn't have cared. Maybe this was all a crypto Twitter bubble drama, and nothing, it was all signaling, right? Nothing really happened. The only thing that happened was Bitcoin Cash forked, and they changed the difficulty algorithm, and then they inflated the supply by 20x for 2 days, type of thing. That's the only thing that really happened. Everything else was a soft fork. And I have my suspicions that Bitcoin will never fork again unless there's like a critical emergency fork.
Okay,
That everything else is going to be so fork.
I have a very practical question to ask all of you guys, and because you're all speakers at the conference, and I think that I think this conference is going to be important because it's going to be very different from anything that's ever been out there before. I hope you guys see that. And that's what that's why I'm backing it. There's no sponsorship to this. And Daisy, who I respect, she said, "Why don't you invite Roger?" And Juan, I know that you have a close connection to Roger, and he trusts you. He has no reason not to trust me. We've done federal time together. I can relate to that. I am in his corner on free market and so much stuff, and I don't have any problem inviting him to this conference, and I will do so. But I can't have him come in and try and hijack it, and I can't have him come in and promote Bitcoin Cash as Bitcoin. But he can certainly come in and present Bitcoin Cash as Bitcoin Cash, and I'll respect that name, but I don't want to hear Bitcoin Core. There is no such thing as Bitcoin Core.
Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that, and let's hang out with him. I mean, it would be great to talk with him and see what's going on.
He got very offended. He got very offended when somebody called Bitcoin Cash Bcash. And I am offended in the same way if he calls Bitcoin Core. And if he calls Bitcoin Core, I am going to give the big FU just like he did, and rightfully so. He can't, that's deceptive. That's wrong. And so he's welcome on my forum, but he has to recognize that Bitcoin is the longest chain with proof of work. Bitcoin Cash has a lot of other attributes, but the one attribute it does not have, it is not the longest chain with proof of work. If he recognizes that, now we have a common ground to continue discussion. And I'm willing to have him on that basis, but I'm going to define the terms. He's not going to define the terms. There is no Bitcoin Core, okay? There is no Bcash. I'll acknowledge that. There's Bitcoin Cash and there is Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash has some attributes that Bitcoin does not have. But the one attribute that Bitcoin Cash does not have is the longest chain with proof of work. That's what makes Bitcoin what it is, and that's why that's why the competition is going to be on Bitcoin. That's why I recognize Bitcoin as F.A. Hayek's Bitcoin as the standard of F.A. Hayek, and Bitcoin Cash is not. It's that simple. Now, if Bitcoin Cash becomes the longest chain with proof of work, that can change. But that will also have some serious consequences because it will also have a detrimental effect on the whole perception of what sound money is. Yeah. We have a standard and we need to build and compete on that standard. And that's what this is all about. I'm not for censorship, but I am for not providing Roger Ver a forum for his lies and propaganda. If he wants to come across and define the terms, and I'm not going to let his army on the ship with us, he can come one-on-one with ugly old goat, and we can go one-on-one.
Like everything you said, Ugly, is 100% correct, right? And he knows it as well. Okay. that is why it's not about that stuff. And the discussion, Jimmy Song tried, everybody tried it. You can't win it, but that's not necessarily.
Jimmy Song won the debate.
I mean,
he didn't. He lost on discussion points. He lost the debate in perception. But if you read the argument, hands down, Jimmy Song won that debate.
But it never ends. Everybody's still doing
No, it
Yeah,
will
so
end.
let's stop talking about it.
It will end when Bitcoin Cash becomes worthless, and that's where it's going. And the
It might
problem.
never end. Honestly, it's never gonna end. The next time Bitcoin's gonna keep going up, and at some point the blocks are gonna get full, and then the drama is gonna come back, and the same narrative is gonna play out again, and it'll continue till the end of time. And at some point, like in 100 years, there'll be like a small group of people, and it'll be a religion, and they'll be like, well, the true Bitcoin, Satoshi's true Bitcoin, it's gone, guys. They took it down, right? And that's just gonna be what's gonna be said, because people sometimes disagree, right? And to be the nicest you can be, they disagree, and people can also be rational, right?
Well, I understand that, but that will be within the cult. It won't be. For example, we don't have any problems with right now we download everything on live stream. However it works, we have the standard changes, and the standard could change. It may not be Bitcoin,
Sure.
But until you show me otherwise, it is Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, it is a free market, so we'll see what happens.
It's no argument that it was the correct, obviously, choice made in Bitcoin improvement. There's no argument there. However, like Juan, I totally agree that he's using deceptive marketing, but it's marketing nevertheless. And this is something that we need back in Bitcoin. So instead of fighting him on Bcash, why not we encourage him to go back where he was, right? I mean,
if he wanted it, he'd do it. Like, he doesn't need anybody's permission or encouragement. The guy owns Bitcoin.com. He can do whatever he wants. He's a millionaire.
No, of course.
I think the market might teach him. I think.
Well, you're right. Hey, Juan,
I would love to.
you hit it all on the market.
I really would love to have him with us, but I mean.
Exactly. I'm that's where I'm at. I would love to have him with us, but we don't need to have. He's irrelevant, and he doesn't The problem with Roger, he doesn't understand he's irrelevant. There's some of us
that say that he's irrelevant. He's not relevant.
He is irrelevant, and the problem is some of. Okay.
He had a capacity, like everybody's admiring his hard working and ethics. He had the capacity to fork Bitcoin and give its run for its money. This is something that you have to admire, even though the where it come from was not exactly in towards.
No, I don't admire what he did because it was done deceptively. I don't. Sorry, because I don't.
He's irrelevant. He's not irrelevant.
He will be.
Very relevant for
he's getting more and more and more irrelevant.
Way by trying to do a bad thing.
Large traders become small traders, and this is going to be a perfect example. I'm sorry, Roger, but I don't want to see you become a small guy. But the way you're going, you will be.
But that's the thing. He already knows it. He already knows it. Guys,
what do you mean?
He knows that it's over. What do you think he doesn't know? What do you think he's so out of touch that he doesn't feel?
Yeah, he can't admit that he's wrong. He can't.
Yeah,
I think he's just doubling down because the more you fight him, the more he doubles down.
I agree. You have. You know what? Paul said. He said. He blessed sin because sin led him to Christ. That's kind of most people won't understand that example, but I'm just saying that it's just.
Yeah.
Look, for me,
I have no animosity towards. I have no animosity. Yeah.
For me, is to resume of this, from what I see is in Bitcoin, there's no ego. In Bitcoin Cash, there's ego. There's nobody behind Bitcoin, but there is somebody behind Bitcoin Cash. When you mix a blockchain technology with ego, things don't go well. They
Yeah,
cannot.
absolutely. There's no argument there. There's 100% correct with what you're saying is that you cannot have a person having any control behind this protocol. It's supposed to be a sovereign protocol, which is we never had this before, and it's alive and it's kicking, and at this point nobody can stop.
Can you imagine?
Well, it's alive, but I don't know that it's kicking. It's got a pretty soft kick, if you ask me. So
No, everything is going to happen with time. Just give it some time to evolve. But I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
okay, so my question: this is where pavement hits the road. You guys, okay? I got Kestutis, I got Juan, and I got Zezo's on, and I had Daisy Kommen on. So why don't you invite Roger? Okay, so you know what? I'm open to that, guys. Should I or shouldn't I?
Well, he thinks we're terrorists, so I mean, I don't know.
What should we? What? Yeah, well, this will be a Bitcoin cruise terrorist meeting, I guess. So, but no, I'm honestly asking you because I don't have a problem with that. But
I don't know,
I'm
man.
not going to have him hide. I'm not going to allow him.
I think we have more
cruise.
important things to think about. I mean, it's up to you, but I think that debate's been had and it's old news. And frankly, like I'm personally kind of over it. Like I'm happy to talk about history all we want, but I'm over the debate. Debate's done. The market will decide. I think as Bitcoiners, as people that have chosen a side and a path, we need to figure out how to move it forward. And having him there might be too much noise. I think he has to show signs of goodwill, and he has to try to reach out to. I mean, invite him if you want. I don't think he'll come. If he comes out, that's great, and it should be under your terms. But I think we have more interesting things to talk about.
If he hears this, the invitation is open,
Really?
but it does have to be on my. I'm not going to have him hijack like he hijacked Jimmy Fallon.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys think that his drama draws the attention to Bitcoin because
I think it looks bad. It looks really bad.
Well,
I agree.
The thing is that there is an attention, right? Even if it's a bad attention, it's still attention. And if the person heard about Bitcoin because of drama, and then the Bcash becomes irrelevant, guess which
well, Bitcoin's not going to become irrelevant because of Roger Ver. Bitcoin is strong because Roger Ver is irrelevant.
But I'm just saying that I'm not supporting Bcash. I'm just saying that there are a lot of good in the things that the way you see that it's bad. It's great to have some sort of challenge like that. And it's not.
But my question, Kestutis, answer my question. What do you think? Should I extend an open invitation to Roger Ver to this cruise? But I'm not going to allow him to hijack it, and he has to respect, just as I will respect his definition and not call Bcash. I will call it Bitcoin Cash. He needs to call Bitcoin.
Okay.
Bitcoin is the largest
Yeah.
is the largest chain with a proof of work. If he's willing to come on and call not ever mention Bitcoin Core, I will never mention Bcash. I will only refer to his coin as Bitcoin Cash. He only refers to the Bitcoin standard as Bitcoin. Then I am willing to have him on. Is that fair or not fair, Kestutis?
I think that this is definitely fair, right? And I think that he should. I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's a great marketer, and he knows all these different ways of doing that. But instead of respecting the way he names his coin, respect him, and he will respect you back. It's simple as that.
I have always respected him, and I've never, I've had fun with him, but I'm not. He disrespects me when he tries to put me in the category of being a terrorist. He puts me in the category of censoring him. When I don't censor him, I shun him. I don't allow him a platform for his bullshit. That's not censorship. Sorry.
Yeah, I do understand. I think still the best way is like, you know, the Jesus said, turn the other cheek.
I'm turning the other cheek, but yeah, and hey, Roger, you can smack me. Roger can smack me right here, and I'm not going to smack him back. Okay, I'm not going to smack him, but he says I'm going to smack him. He put me as somebody that's trying to physically do him violence. I am not. I am asking him to show me the same respect that he demands that I show him. I will call Bcash, Bitcoin Cash, on a open forum. He also must acknowledge that Bitcoin is the longest chain with proof of work. There is no such thing as Bitcoin Core. If he says Bitcoin Core, he is going to be shunned. He will be cut off. He is not going to have access to promulgate his lies.
But you're taking,
I think that's a fine offer.
Rhetoric too serious.
No, not at all. I'm taking his rhetoric for what it is, for what he said. And you know what? Yes, if he says it, well, you know what? Then he needs to change his rhetoric so it conforms with the truth.
But that's exactly what you do when you start opposing. The more you fight it, the more he's going to push.
Well,
back.
that's his problem, not mine.
Well,
I'm not opposing him in any way.
Guys, wait.
I'm simply not. He just has to say Bitcoin is, if he recognizes that Bitcoin is the largest chain with proof of work, you know what? His Bitcoin Cash will be Bitcoin if it becomes the longest proof of work.
Yeah.
You know.
Ugly. Sorry.
Yes. Hang on.
I think like this.
You're on.
To bring him to the cruise, I don't think it's a good idea because you're going to turn the cruise into that.
Into this, yeah.
I think.
All right.
I think we gain much more doing what we are doing because if we're doing what we're going to be.
You know what, Dwight, I agree, and it's so sad because you know what? Our hearts are in the right place. Our hearts is, hey, Roger, we really want you to be on this cruise, but we can't let you on because you're full of shit.
You know, maybe one day, maybe in a different context, maybe in this context, it's up to you, Ugly. Maybe one day there'll be like the right environment, the right context, the right moment, you know, the right intention to achieve peace. I mean, he does own Bitcoin.com. It would be great to have that on our side again. But yeah, I mean, I think going towards forgiveness and going towards peace is always good. But we can't ignore where he's at and what he's done. And I think he has to, we can extend an olive branch, but I think he has to walk a little bit this way too. And it doesn't seem like he's interested in that. So,
exactly. And you know, and that's exactly, so kind of we're at the point where he has to make the move. You know, there would be nothing that would make me more happy, that would give me more satisfaction, that if someday, and it might not be now, it may not be 10 years from now, it may be 50 years from now when I'm long dead, but Roger Vere's still alive and he's 80 years old, when we can hand him
that'd be great.
a staff and he's a Bitcoin standard bearer because he was originally, and we want him back. You know, we're not against you, Roger. Just, you know, we're here for you, man. And we want you to have this wonderful honor, which if you can straighten out your thinking, you deserve. But you're not going to get it where you're at. So, guys,
I'm not good. Yeah.
You've reinforced it. I'm really excited about this cruise. I think it's going to be new ground that nobody's ever covered. This is going to be something. That was my vision. This vision that I have is that I want to fill up a whole cruise ship. I don't know how many fit on a cruise ship, but I know it's a whole lot more. Here's the problem I've been having on this cruise ship is, we've changed everything because it's all entertainment. It's, you know, they don't do conferences anymore. Well, we want to do a conference. and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a cruise. And the thing I like about this cruise, a lot of people have never been on a cruise before. This is a really short cruise. So you can, some people hate cruises. Some people love them. You can go on a really short cruise and figure out if you like it or not. And you know, and I think if we pull this baby off, I mean, like my goal is to fill up a whole cruise ship within a year or two. And I think it can be done. It will probably be a target. We'll probably get torpedoed and be because of World War III or something. Will be because everybody in Bitcoin will be on one ship, and then they'll say, well, we can take care of that problem.
Oh God.
Make sure you bring your hardware
right,
wallets
well-
just in case, so you can lose them accidentally.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, anyway, I hope you guys had fun tonight. I sure did. So
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great time.
I'm glad I'm glad you got on. I kind of, you know, we got in contact and then we lost contact. I said, you know,
Yeah.
I remember I got in contact with Juan, and the reason, you know, I'd met you previously. I'm not sure where were you ever at a San Diego Bitcoin conference or anything like that, or maybe the first time I met you was in Bogota?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely in La Bitcoin from Bogota. Yeah, I haven't been to San Diego. Yeah.
Oh, you need to help me get. I'm not sure who to connect. I want to try and be a speaker at the next Latin America Bitcoin conference. But I'm not. So I'll contact you. You need to help me get through.
Yeah, maybe I can help.
the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
so,
right. Well, I should go to
anyway,
sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to go to bed. Hey, it was really a lot of fun, but we don't leave. We have to do a little thing here. It's called the ugly old goat dance, and I'm going to completely embarrass you, Juan. You got to get up and do this. You got to get up and do this.
I'm naked. There's nothing underneath. This is just t-shirt. So you guys should remember this.
Oh well, you know,
These are my pajamas.
Don't stand up too much. You can do it sitting down,
Okay,
but Kestutis and I will be up here and we'll do it. And you'll be on the small screen. So if you show something, it'll show up real small. No matter how big you are, it's going to be small. All right, you ready? Let's go. Here we go. There we go. Now this is important. This is what I teach everybody. HODL, HODL, HODL. Say. Build a. Sound money. All right.
It's such a good thing.
All right. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a really good session. We hit some really hard stuff. And Juan, I'm impressed. You didn't let me down at all. Zezo, you were great. You're gonna be the pop star. The way you were so hard to wake up, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's gonna be a gift.
All right. Yeah, 80s is gonna work on that. The goat lady is gonna work on that. Good night. So
Good night,
long,
guys.
So long, Walla. So
Take
long,
care,
guys.
guys.
Bye bye.
Yeah, good night.
You do know your shirts.